Good morning, everyone. Andrew Douglas in the Action News 5 digital desk. There is a new report on public health emergency preparedness, and it finds that less than half of U.S. states are considered highly prepared. It's kind of disturbing to hear some of these findings from this new report. Let's bring in Dr. Nadine Gracia. She's president and CEO of Trust for America's Health. Dr. Gracia, good morning to you. Let's talk about some of the key findings of this report here. My understanding is it's called Ready or Not Report. Tell me about it.
Yes, Trust for America's Health, we are releasing our annual Ready or Not report, which really assesses our nation's level of preparedness for infectious disease outbreaks, bioterrorism, and natural disasters. It also looks specifically at state level preparedness. And what we found in this year's report gives us actionable data to help policymakers at all levels, federal, state, and local, to be able to take steps to continue to improve their emergency preparedness. In this year's report, 19 states and the District of Columbia were in the high performance tier, 16 states in the middle performance tier, and 15 states in the low performance tier.
So, Dr. Gracia, we broadcast to West Tennessee, North Mississippi, and Eastern Arkansas. Tell me how this Mid-South area did in this report.
Yeah, so what we saw in specifically for Tennessee is that this year, it was in the low performance tier. It actually fell from the middle performance tier to the low performance tier this year. When we look at strengths for the state, one is that it has plans in place to be able to expand its healthcare capacity during times of emergency, as we've seen how hospitals have been stretched, for example, during the pandemic to be able to respond to the emergency. It also has plans in place, for example, around expanding its public health laboratory capacity. But some opportunities for improvement include one, the level of public health funding in state public health. And we've seen actually a decline and a decrease in state public health funding, as well as the opportunity for public health accreditation. Any state, even if they're high performing states, really have opportunities for improvement. We've seen that in the state of Mississippi, where they are in the high performance tier. And so there's opportunities really across the board in addressing both healthcare readiness as well as strengthening the public health system.
So tell me more about the criteria involved in this study where you're able to determine low, middle, and high state readiness or preparedness.
Yeah, so the report looks at 10 indicators that are closely associated to public health preparedness. Factors like being able to have plans in place to expand your healthcare capacity during times of an emergency so that hospitals, health systems, for example, are able to have nurses that can come from other states, for example, to be able to help support the healthcare needs in that specific state. It looks at plans in place of the public health laboratories to be able to surge their capacity in testing during times of emergency. It also looks at factors like level of public health funding in the state, as well as issues such as paid time off. The number of employed individuals who are using paid time off. We've seen in the COVID-19 pandemic how critical that is if someone is ill or needs to take care of a family member, having access, for example, to paid time off to be able to stay home and not, for example, coming to work where they might actually then spread an infection such as COVID-19. It also looks at accreditation, which either public health and emergency management accreditation, which really helps to assess the strengths and weaknesses of departments at that level and be able to have quality improvement to strengthen those areas and opportunities for improvement. It also looks at hospital quality as well and ratings of hospitals within the states.
I was just going to ask Dr. Gracia, these recommendations in this new report, is it going to be sent to some of the state leaders across various states, all 50 states, to talk about where they're strong, where they're weak, where they need to continue to work to be 100% prepared for any kind of health emergency?
Yeah, you raise a critical point, Andrew, which is the role that this report and the data and recommendations can have for policymakers at all levels, Congress, as well as at the state and local levels, to be able to take concrete actions that can help to strengthen public health preparedness. So indeed, we share this report broadly, certainly with congressional offices. We share it with state health officials and other state partners to be able to use this as a guide and understanding that it's a checklist to be able to serve as a guide, to be able to strengthen opportunities for improving public health preparedness. One is a key area is strengthening the investment in funding and resources for the public health system. Public health has been chronically underfunded for decades. There's also a severe workforce shortage as it relates to public health. There's estimated that we need about 80,000 full-time equivalent positions for state and local health departments to just even be able to meet the basic public health services. So these are some of the steps that policymakers at all levels, including the state and local level, can be taking to strengthen our nation's preparedness.
We have thousands of viewers who join us each and every day on the digital desk, and perhaps they're watching this wondering what they could do specifically to prepare themselves and their family for any kind of emergency. Is there anything that they could do right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one is always certainly to follow public health guidance, out of the local and state health departments as it relates to being prepared for and when there is an actual emergency, following that evidence-based, science-based information with regards to the response to that emergency, whether it's to an infectious disease outbreak or if there's been some type of weather-related emergency. One of our indicators is also about vaccination and specifically seasonal flu vaccines. As a nation, we are underperforming as it relates to our national targets of having 70% of the population that is vaccinated against flu. So there's every year getting that flu shot for people that are 6 months and older is a concrete way that you can also take steps to improve our nation's preparedness and your local community's preparedness as well.
Okay, President, CEO of Trust for America's Health, Dr. Nadine Gracia, we appreciate your time. Thank you for the conversation this morning.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate the opportunity.
You got it. All right, let's talk about the forecast right now. Look at that shot. That is nice to see. A lot of blue sky out there from our Midtown High Five camera. Just a few clouds moving pretty rapidly. It's kind of windy outside. We're expecting winds to persist today, upwards of 30 miles an hour. There's a live shot from our downtown High Five camera there. Mississippi River, a barge moving through underneath the I-40 bridge. We got a lot of things happening in the weather department over the next 24, 48 hours or so. Nice weather today. First alert weather day tomorrow. Meteorologist Brittany Bryant explains.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There was that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the mid-south in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area in North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3, 4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40. Will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms. And by that point at night, 8, 9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high in those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there, because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out, at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72. But there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday 68, by Wednesday lower 60s.
Okay, there is another shot there of the High 5 camera at downtown Memphis. Some clouds there off in the distance. We are expecting a nice day with temperatures, as you just heard, near 80 degrees today. We'll check in more with Brittany Bryan in just a minute. All right, let's talk about an ultimatum for Shelby County Clerk Wanda Halpert. Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris says that she needs to find a new location for the Poplar Plaza clerk's office, or she could face potential penalties here. So in a letter to Wanda Halpert, Mayor Harris reminded her that the lease on the clerk's office at 3412 Poplar Avenue ends June 30th. Mayor Harris asked that Halpert choose an alternative location in Poplar Plaza by close of business tomorrow. Letter goes on to remind her that the Shelby County Commission and the DA's office can intervene when a county clerk is, quote, derelict in his or her duty. And if that she doesn't choose a new location by the end of the week, well, then there could be some significant problems here. There's a part of the letter there that there could be some problems. In fact, Mayor Harris said, quote, I will be forced to call a special meeting of the Shelby County Commission and the district attorney to discuss these state law provisions. No response from Clerk Wanda Halpert just yet. Want to talk now about the TVA report on Holly Springs Utility Department's storm restoration efforts. After countless power outages, the TVA says it has received an unprecedented number of customer complaints after 2 severe weather incidents caused prolonged outages in the past year, both on April 13th of last year and then January 30th of this year. In its review, the TVA said that Holly Springs Utility must develop a plan to correct these issues in its electrical distribution system. The utility must also develop a storm recovery response plan, as well as a plan to better communicate with its customers. In South Haven, a police officer says he spotted a car theft in progress early yesterday morning, but an attempt to stop the crime ended with an exchange of gunfire. We first brought you this as breaking news yesterday morning. It went down in the Rascal Hills community. Investigators say a detective exchanged gunfire with suspects trying to steal a car. Officers arrested 20-year-old Travion Holloman. He's charged with attempted murder of a law enforcement officer. That's a picture of him there. 3 other suspects did get away. Officers chased them into Memphis, where the suspects fired more shots before officers lost track of the car. Residents told us the one arrest does not ease their mind.
Not really, because, I mean, there's more. It seems like they're out there every day more, you know. They ain't locking them up fast enough.
Yeah. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation has taken over this case. Let's go now to Oxford, Mississippi. Police there investigating the death of a man reported missing on Tuesday. They say 32-year-old Curtis Vaughn that you see here, last seen at 11 o'clock Monday night. His body was found in Yalobusha County yesterday. Detectives calling this an active criminal investigation. If you have any information that could help, please contact the Oxford, Mississippi Police Department. Caught on camera, Covington police need your help to track down a pair of accused pharmacy thefts. This incident happened about 2:30 yesterday morning, Bradford Pharmacy. This is on Highway 51 South. Surveillance video shows a white Toyota here, white Toyota Camry that you see. Pull in, two men with crowbars get out of the car, steal a promethazine, which investigators say is used in the street drug Lean. Officers in Ripley and Brownsville also investigating a pharmacy theft with the same suspects and vehicle description. Memphis Fire Department is encouraging you to enroll in a new emergency system. It'll allow Memphis Fire to notify citizens of any life-threatening emergencies within their community. Those situations could range from dangerous fires, active shooters, severe weather. Fire Chief Gina Sweat says this system will allow the fire department to alert you according to your region, which is why everyone needs to sign up.
This new alerting system, we will be able to give specific information, instructions, especially if there's actions that the citizens need to take to save their lives or to protect themselves. So we'll be able to provide them that answer, those questions in real time.
All right, for details on how to register for this brand new alert system, you can visit our website, actionnews5.com. Want to show you this. This is a map. You can see it now, downtown Memphis. Let me pull off the ticker here. You can kind of see it clearly. This is a traffic alert I want to show you starting at 9 o'clock. That's about 45 minutes from now. South Front Street between Beale and Peabody Place. Okay, Beale and Peabody Place. That's Front Street between Beale and Peabody will be closed to traffic. Crews will be taking apart the crane used for the DMC Mobility Center project. So Beale Street between South Front Street and South Main will remain closed until June 1st. Again, you can see it on this map here. You can get more information, of course, on our website, actionnews5.com. All right, big night at FedEx Forum. If you were there, if perhaps you watched it on TV like I did, you knew that it was a major, major deal. Ja Morant coming back after almost 3 weeks off the court. Big win for Memphis Grizzlies as well. It was close all the way until the very end. They beat the Rockets. Bria Bolden tells us how the fans reacted and the excitement inside FedEx Forum. Take a look.
Ja Morant makes his return to the court. Coming off the bench to a standing ovation, number 12 not missing a beat after missing 8 games.
He dug no smoke tonight, y'all.
Some Grizzlies fans even told us they bought tickets hopeful Morant would play Wednesday.
If I could see him for 15 minutes of the game, Ja is the Memphis.
It's definitely been too long. We're excited that he's back.
Well, you know, I thought we weren't going to be able to see him. You know, we had some tickets. We had them from a friend of mine or whatever for like a couple of weeks. But I told him I didn't want to go unless he was going to be playing. And then we just made the decision to come on anyway. And I heard he was playing.
These fans visiting Memphis from the UK even made a stop to watch their favorite NBA player hit the hardwood again.
I think tonight, hopefully we're seeing him come off the bench and he'll do really well. So that's what we're hoping for. We're here to see him.
Despite the hardships Morant has faced, even his youngest fans have messages of support to him and the rest of the Beale Street Bears.
I'm glad you're coming back, and I hope y'all win.
Go Grizzlies! Go Grizzlies!
Great to see all the excitement, and of course, even better to see that the Memphis Grizzlies beat Houston Rockets 130 to 125. Jaren Jackson Jr. scored a season-high 37 points in this victory. They are going to play the Rockets once again tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. It'll also be at FedEx Forum. I want to tell you about a 5-star story that a lot of people are loving. It's about a bookstore, an independent bookstore with 150 years in business right in the heart of Cooper Young. Burke's Bookstore. Kim Clark has more.
Burke's Bookstore on Cooper Street has an inventory of books as eclectic as the Midtown neighborhood where it now sits.
What I like to call Burke's is a browser's paradise.
A paradise Corey and his wife Cheryl Messler have been in love with for dozens of years.
It's really important to me to have a store where people can come into, feel welcome, and be surprised by something that they didn't know they wanted.
On the shelves, you'll find about 14,000 new and used books, rare books, first editions, and signed copies. The best of the old, the latest of the new, and hard-to-find collectibles.
And since Burke's is part of the history, and it's important to us to keep a big Memphis history section. That's one of our draws.
Also, more typewriters than they can possibly display.
And people became fascinated with them. I didn't know there was that much interest in typewriters. Of course, it fits. This is how books are written. And the more people became fascinated with it, and they would bring us typewriters.
Messler, the author of several novels of his own, has also brought some of the world's most famous authors into the shop.
John Grisham's a dear friend, still a dear friend of the store. Literally over 100 authors, I'm sure, have been through here.
And it's not just famous authors who've made Burke's a destination. Take screenwriter Joel Cohen and his wife and actress Frances McDormand. Messler called the couple's visit one of the best days of his 40-year book-selling career.
They said they came to Memphis, this is what they told us, we came to Memphis for barbecue, antique stores, and Burke's. Now, they may have just been flattering us, but it sure felt good. They said they'd been in the store 20-some years ago, and we remembered it.
The story of Burke's Bookstore started more than a century ago.
Started 1865 on Main Street in the Burke's family, famous for selling textbooks to all the Catholic schools in town.
Eventually, the Burke family moved the business to the 600 block of Poplar Avenue.
In the 60s, urban renewal came through. They wanted to raise a lot of those buildings, so Burke's had to find a new home. We're still in the Burke's family at that point, in the third generation. It went from father to son to son.
The bookstore was bought by Diana Crump in 1978, then Harriet Beeson, shown here in this picture, who moved the business to its third location in 1988 at 1719 Poplar Avenue. Corey began working for Beeson that year as well.
And of course, loved it. I've been in the book business since I was 18.
That's also when Burke's began selling used books.
In 2000, we were able to buy the store because Harriet was ready to retire.
In 2007, the Messlers moved the business to its fourth and hopefully final location in Cooper Young, becoming their own family business.
Cheryl and I are fixing to have our 31st wedding anniversary. We met in the store, got married at the playhouse next door, had the reception in the store. So we are wed to the store, literally. And then our daughter Chloe came on board 5 years ago.
When asked why Burke's has stayed in business so long, Messler's simple answer is civic pride.
Memphians love Memphis. I mean, true Memphians really love the city. So we're part of the history, and we honor the history. We're proud to be in Memphis. We're proud to be Memphians, and I guess people respond to that.
In Cooper Young,
thank you to Memphis for supporting us for almost 150 years. Thank you for thinking we're worth supporting and worth keeping around.
Kim Clark, Action News 5.
All right, well, the Memphis Office of Youth Services is putting on a Career and Technical Expo. It is coming up March 24th, and joining us now to talk more about it is Ike Griffith, Special Assistant to Mayor Jim Strickland and Director of the City Office of Youth Services and Community Affairs. Good morning. Glad to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. So this Career and Technical Expo, it's coming up towards the end of the month. What can people expect?
Well, our young people can expect over hundreds of vendors that's going to be giving them the opportunity to be hired for a regular job. What we're trying to do is get in front of the classes of 2023 and have something in place for these young people to look forward to once they walk across the stage and get their high school diploma. Many of our young people are not going to college, and we want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for them to be productive individuals in our society. So I do want to give a shout out to Channel 5, Mr. Jonathan Mitchell, for helping me to get the word out about this great event.
Oh, good stuff. Love Jonathan. I'm glad that he's helping to get the word out with that with you, and I'm glad you're on the digital desk today. You know, you were talking about all the vendors that are going to be there helping to give these opportunities to these young people. How important is it to be able to have a place where they can come? Everything's kind of a one-stop shop, and it's giving them opportunities. How important is that?
It is very important. As I mentioned earlier, many of our young people are not going to college, and to have vendors like TVA, who's one of my sponsors, cosmetology schools, electricians, plumbers, NASA, Ford Oval, Blue Oval, just I can go on and on and on, but it's so important to have a event of this caliber where people will be hiring on the spot. And we ask our young people to come looking the part along with your resume. That is so very important. That's the first step. Your first impression is a lasting one. So we really want to provide an opportunity for those youth so they can become productive individuals in our society. Not only high school students in Memphis, but we have invited high school students from Mississippi and Arkansas. Crime is just not around in our area. It's around us too. So we want to provide those same opportunities for those young people. So we are opening up our doors at 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock for our high school seniors. From 1 to 5, we will have our college students, opportunity youth, and adults. And our opportunity youth are those individuals that are school age, but not in school with no skills set. So we really want to make sure that we embrace all our young people in the city of Memphis and the surrounding area.
And those are some big name companies that you mentioned too. So these are good jobs, good opportunities, and they're out there for our young people. And so let's just talk about, I know you said there's going to be hundreds of vendors. What else can people expect, and what kind of other services are going to be out there for people?
Well, we have our Second Chance program that will be in effect. Also, we are providing opportunities for interviews for those companies that can embrace those children and the young adults and our college students. And we will have those vendors that will hire just with a high school education, and we will have vendors that will be hiring with college degrees. So it's so very important that we embrace all those vendors and thanking them, number one, for coming on board with us, like TVA and CTE program of Shelby County Schools, really just making this a big event. So we really are very excited about this event at the Renaissance Center, as I mentioned, just different careers that our young people can go into, or just have a major concern about looking into a particular career. We will have TCAT there will be giving away a scholarship to go to their facility. So it's just a variety of, opportunities for our young people. Training program, interviews, interactive career displays, Second Chance program, hiring on the spot. We're just really excited about this, and we really want our young people to take advantage of this. We are losing too many of our young people. And as you may know or may not know, the youth in this city is a top priority of Mayor Jim Strickland. So he has allowed me to just venture out to do whatever I possibly can to help our young people become successful individuals in our society.
And this definitely is a big step. This is big and helpful for our youth. And I'm curious, have y'all put an expo like this on in the past? Is this y'all's first time to do this? And if so, how many people are you expecting to be out here?
Well, hopefully thousands. This is our first time putting this on. Matter of fact, I was not budgeted in my budget to put this on, but I've been having great support of letting people know what we are trying to do to embrace our young people. Home structure is not like it used to be, and we need to be more aggressive in helping our young people become productive individuals in society. Each and every day, we constantly meet. We meet. As we are meeting, our youth are out here committing crime and other negatives in our society. So we need to meet in motion. We need to put in programs that's going to be beneficial, and also we need to have effective consequences for our young people. We are, as adults, to be quite honest, we are losing this battle with our children. So having a program of this caliber is so very important. And we ask parents to make our children do some things. Parents need to make their children do. They shouldn't have no choice. And this is one of the events that we hope parents will support us on, and so we can support their children.
Absolutely. And so I know you were saying that this is a big, investing in our youth and really focusing our youth is a big thing for you, Mayor Strickland. Is that kind of how this expo kind of came about? Is this just kind of one of those things?
Well, I tell you, it came about just looking at data with the number of young people that may not be going to college, may not be attending college. So we got to find some positive things for our young people to do. And careers and technology is so valuable. It's so valuable because although we may have AI in our society now, but I've yet to see a machine fix hair. I've yet to see a machine come to your house and fix your plumbing. So there's a lot of careers that young people can go into and be successful in that process. And, you know, just making our children do and taking a part of something that's positive is very, very important. So we need to embrace our young people. We need to show them the right things to do, put them on the right track, number one, and hopefully they'll be successful. Hopefully it'll also deter crime because we have so many of our young people that we are losing each and every day. So we're all excited about putting on this Career Expo. We have invited, as I mentioned earlier, the school system in Memphis and the surrounding areas, college students, adults. So just take advantage of this opportunity and let's have a great summer.
Well, and I think this is awesome too because it helps these young people to even know what kind of what they are capable of, what they could do, what is out there for them that they can, you know, grab and hold on to. So this is great. Real quick, can you kind of run over all those details again one last time and then where people can go to get some more information?
Okay. Well, first of all, you can call our office at 901-636-6264. And this is Mayor Jim Strickland, Memphis Office of Youth Services Career and Technical Expo that will be held March 24th at the Renaissance Convention Center. And we ask our young people to come looking the part, bring your resumes, because we will have hundreds of vendors, interviews, second chance opportunities, hiring on the spot. And we ask our young people that are in high school from 9 to 1 will be designated for you as high school seniors. From 1 to 5 will be our college students, opportunity youth, and adults. And opportunity youth are those individuals that are school age, but not in school. Business attire and bring your resume. So we're looking forward to seeing you, and I hope each and every one of you that come get hired on the spot.
All right. Well, Ike, I've enjoyed having you on. Thank you for taking some time to get out this information to our viewers, and good luck with the expo. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Thank you so very much.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday, afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There is that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the Mid-South in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area, North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3, 4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40, will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms, and by that point at night, 8, 9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high in those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there, because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out, at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72, but there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday 68, by Wednesday lower 60s.
All right, let's talk about helping veterans breathe easier. Action News 5 has an exclusive look at some brand new treatments being offered at patients at the Memphis VA Medical Center for veterans who suffer from COPD. This is an option that's non-invasive. It's an alternative to lung surgery or a transplant. Action News 5's Joyce Peterson has more on that.
It's the most horrible thing I've ever experienced in my life. It really scares you.
For the last decade, Michael Gafford has struggled to breathe. The 75-year-old U.S. Army veteran suffers from emphysema, a crippling form of COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
I got to where I just couldn't walk around the block. I could barely get to the mailbox and back.
Dr. Arjun Flora at the Memphis VA Medical Center performed a procedure called bronchoscopic lung volume reduction on Gafford. It's an FDA-approved non-invasive treatment that places one-way valves in the lung using a fiber optic camera.
So these one-way valves were developed to essentially deflate the most diseased portions of the lungs in order to relieve the pressure on the breathing muscle to allow people to breathe better when they're exerting themselves.
On February 14th, Gafford became the first veteran at the Memphis VA to undergo the procedure.
I won't say I'm out of the woods yet, but I'm a lot better than I was.
Gafford wanted this done a while ago, but it wasn't offered at the Memphis VA, and it was exorbitantly expensive at other hospitals. Dr. Flora joined the VA's pulmonology team last year and immediately saw the need.
What really did speak out to me was the fact that he had been waiting up to 5 years for somebody to show up at our VA in order to do it, and I wanted to give him the opportunity.
These tiny devices now making a big difference in Michael Gafford's quality and quantity of life.
You know, I've got 2 daughters and 4 grandkids, and I'd like to see them all with families before I leave this world. You got to do something. You got to try something. You can't just give up.
Joyce Peterson reporting there. The Memphis VA, just one of a handful of VAs across the country to offer valve treatment. Dr. Flores said he took the job in Memphis to bring advanced care to veterans all across the Mid-South, quality care that he says will rival elite hospitals like Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Well, this year's St. Jude Dream Home giveaway comes with some major prizes, big prize packages in the campaign's history, some of the biggest. Tickets are available beginning tomorrow. If you reserve your ticket on the very first day, you could win season tickets to the Memphis Tigers, season tickets to the Memphis Grizzlies, and a weekend getaway at the Peabody. And on top of that, you'll have a chance to win a dream home worth worth almost $600,000, and the huge prize supporting a huge endeavor, finding cures and saving lives for children affected by cancer. Joy Redmond reports it's a mission near and dear to the woman you're about to meet. Check it out.
Of the thousands of people who work at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, each one of them is special in their own way. But there's something extra special about Marshetta Brasley Rogers.
Oh my gosh.
If her bright smile, contagious friendliness, and tender spirit don't grab your attention, her love for the work she does at St. Jude certainly will.
It is very fulfilling when I work with patients and families to help them understand that they have control over the things that happen to them, over the direction that their life takes, and I can help them to exercise that.
For more than a decade, Brasley Rogers worked as a teacher and administrator in public schools. She currently serves as school advocacy coordinator for the St. Jude School Program by Chili's, a job she never saw herself doing.
I knew that St. Jude was here, and I knew that they served kids with cancer. I saw the commercials, but I didn't know that there was even a place for me here as an educator. When I saw that they had a school and there was an opening for someone that would like to connect patients and families with school resources, I thought, oh, that's me. That's my jam.
3 years later, and Brasley Rogers is still rocking and rolling with the Life-Saving Hospital. The native Memphian has a bachelor's in music therapy from Tennessee Technological University, but she found her true calling when she got her second degree from a school in...
Yes, ma'am. Big Memphis.
The one and only University of Memphis. The Tiger alum says she loved her previous job, but she knew she had to go back to school to fulfill her true passion.
Every Monday, I got to work in schools in the special education classroom, and I liked my job, but I loved Mondays. I loved Mondays. And so after about a year doing that, I thought I could like my job and love one day, or I could go back to school and love every day.
Brasley Rogers can confirm she loves all 5 days of her work week at St. Jude, and here's one of the many reasons why.
As I was having lunch and I dropped my water in the floor, and I went to clean it up and I couldn't find it because the floor was so shiny, it was just so clean. And I thought, you know, everyone here takes such pride in the work that they do because they know that in the end, it's in service of children, from people that clean the building to people that research medicine to school coordinators to the doctors. Everybody just does such a great job because we understand what the end is.
An end that will hopefully lead to a new beginning, a world where kids live cancer-free.
And remember, the St. Jude Dream Home kickoff begins tomorrow morning on Action News 5. Now let's talk about heart failure, because more than 6 million Americans have heart failure, meaning the heart can't pump enough blood to support the rest of the organs in the body. And for years, doctors have used LVADs to help patients get stronger. I want to show you now in a Best Life report that doctors in the U.S. are the first in the world to use a brand new breakthrough device for the right side of the heart. Check it out. This is a heart beating in normal rhythm. This is what heart failure sounds like. When someone is in heart failure, doctors can use a small mechanical device, it's called an LVAD, to help pump blood and give the heart a chance to rest and recover.
Historically, we were focusing mostly on the left ventricle, but now we're realizing that patients that have RV failure are not doing well.
Dr. Dewey and his colleagues were the first in the world to use a temporary device to support the right side of the heart. Surgeons implant the Impella RP Flex by going through the internal jugular vein with a catheter.
Impella RP Flex is designed to be inserted percutaneously, which means just with a needle stick, and it goes into the heart and provides support to the right ventricle.
The device can be used up to 14 days before it's removed, and it's designed so the patient can be mobile.
The benefit going through the neck is that patient can sit upright or can ambulate in the intensive care unit while recovering.
Meaning patients and hearts can get stronger sooner than ever before. The Impella Flex RP can be used at the same time as the LVAD. The device can also provide support to patients who are waiting for a heart transplant. The first 3 patients to undergo the Impella Flex RP implant have been weaned from the device. 2 have gone home and didn't need a heart transplant surgery. With ways to live your best life, I'm Andrew Douglas, Action News 5. All right, let's talk about what happened in South Haven yesterday. We had it as breaking news all morning long. A police officer in South Haven says he spotted a car theft in progress, but an attempt to stop the crime ended with an exchange of gunfire. Mississippi Bureau of Investigation has taken over this case. Kelly Cook has details.
Vibrated, like you could feel the vibration from the gunshot.
Around 1 in the morning, Dante Ellington says his traditionally peaceful neighborhood near State Line and Horn Lake Roads was quickly surrounded by a slew of police officers.
I came outside, seen just about any policeman you could find, South Haven, Memphis, and sheriffs, so it was kind of a lot going on.
South Haven police says a detective in an unmarked vehicle spotted a stolen Nissan Maxima in the Rasco Hills community. While one of the suspects attempted to steal another car, the detective tried to deploy stop sticks when there was an exchange of gunfire.
It was at least 6 shots.
One suspect fled on foot and was caught less than 2 miles away. 20-year-old Travion Holloman is facing attempted murder of a law enforcement officer and a slew of other felony charges. Holloman was already wanted in Shelby County. A warrant was issued for his arrest in December for stealing a car. Residents in the area say the arrest still doesn't put them at ease.
Not really, because, I mean, there's more, it seems like it's out there every day more, they ain't locking them up fast enough.
Investigators say 3 other suspects got away. Officers pursued across state lines into Memphis, where the suspects shot again at officers before they lost track of the car. The employment status of the involved officers are not clear at this time. We did reach out to MBI, but they said they would not be releasing any more information at this time. In South Haven, Kelly Cook, Action News 5.
Okay, investigators are calling it an awful accident, and this morning we are learning more about 3 sisters grieving the loss of their children. This happened back on Tuesday night in Batesville, Mississippi. The Panola County Sheriff's Office says 5 people were killed in a car crash on James and Curtis Road in Batesville. Victims were all related. 12-year-old Jameron Holmes, 13-year-old Earl Holmes, 14-year-old Montrez Webster, 15-year-old Destiny Lifford, and 19-year-old Tateria Webster, who was driving the vehicle. Latorius Holmes is Destiny's mother. She says she treated all of her nieces and nephews like they were their own.
I don't even know how to feel. Every time I close my eyes, I see my baby. The kids, they were so young. And I mean, they just not my babies, they other people's babies. And my nieces and nephews just like my kids. And just about
investigators say the cause of the crash remains under investigation. Major step forward in the case of Jane Doe versus the city of Memphis and other women seeking justice for untested rape kits. The lawsuit has been certified as class action. Jane Doe will represent thousands of women who were raped and had rape kits performed on them, but the kits were never tested. The ruling has been 9 years in the making, but attorneys for the plaintiffs made note this is not the end.
This is a major win for the plaintiff and a major loss for the city, okay? But no, the case is not over. There will be hearings on all of that. So it's a big day, but know that it's not over yet.
All of these women have suffered years of pain, anxiety, depression. They just don't know how much agony we have been through with this. By being classified, I'm very, very happy.
And attorney Daniel Lofton said it could be several more months before we know that next court date. New effort underway to mobilize Memphis's Latino community against crime. Stop the Violence rally held last night. Participants carried signs, as you see here, signs with messages of peace. Organizers say there is a fear in the Latino community that needs to be addressed.
Everybody's really concerned. They're really afraid. They feel like we need more police enforcement in the city. I mean, sometimes a lot of crimes go unnoticed, and that's one of the biggest problems that we're having right now.
He also said that there's a lack of trust in police among the Latino community and cited the language barrier as a hurdle in communicating with law enforcement.
Amanda Hansen back here at the Action News 5 digital desk. And amid the uncertainty in the economy, inflation, the talk about a recession, it's no surprise that people are worried about their financial wellness and what they can do to make sure that they are prepared for whatever comes our way. And so joining us now to talk about some advice and to share how people can build emergency savings and improve financial wellness is Scott Thoma, financial expert with Edward Jones. Scott, good morning. How you doing? We're glad to have you on here. So I know that there was a recent survey that was put together that was talking about how Americans are really viewing their financial wellness. Can you talk about that survey and some of the things that came out of it?
Yeah, from a big picture perspective, we found that most individuals, in fact, over 90% view financial wellness as incredibly important. So I think that's a positive. But what we also saw is less than half individuals right now actually felt confident in their financial strategy. I'd say the good takeaway to that is that, especially given the environment that we're going through right now, they are looking for ways to prioritize things to get back on track.
You know, and with the cost of everything at the grocery store going up, I mean, you leave with a little bitty bag of groceries and it's $100. And I think so many people are wanting to try to improve their financial wellness. I know tax season's come up. A lot of people are going to get refunds. What kind of advice would you give people with these uncertain economic times, maybe ways that they can try to put themselves in a better position?
We're going to continue to hold on to the cloud cover throughout most of the day, maybe a couple peaks of sunshine, and there will be some drizzle that continues throughout this morning. But otherwise, it's going to be breezy. Temperatures will stay into the 40s throughout the afternoon. Tonight and the next several nights will be particularly cold. Freeze warnings will be in effect. But once we get the drizzle out of the area for today, we're actually looking at a dry stretch of weather. Spring will officially begin on Monday, mostly sunny and unseasonably cool. Highs that day near 50.
Prioritize those things and actually build a strategy to help not only get them started today, but also help keep them on track.
And you were talking about the importance of having that financial advisor and how they really can help them kind of have that knowledge, know which direction to go, what they need to do. You know, one thing I'm curious, I've heard people tell me in the past too, when it comes to having that emergency savings, that you really want to try to keep about $10,000 in, you know, aside to be able to have in case you lose your job. Is that what's a typical amount that you would say people need to be able to save in order to kind of have that cushion if they need it?
Well, I think it really depends on their own specific financial situation. We recommend individuals have between 3 to 6 months of their living expenses in an emergency fund. So it's really tailored based upon your own personal situation. That being said, how much you have within that range is going to depend on a lot of different things. How stable is your income? Do you have dependents that you're supporting? So it's those types of things that a financial advisor can help work with you to not only set this is the right amount for you to have, but then also then build that strategy to be able to build it over time.
You know, and a lot of people think to themselves, this is just overwhelming. Like, I don't know how, I'm going paycheck to paycheck. I'm one paycheck away from really being in trouble. And they think to themselves, it's just not realistic for me to be able to build an emergency savings. Is there some tips and maybe some small things that they can be doing to try to start working towards that? What advice do you have?
Absolutely. And I think it's first important to validate that because, yes, the situations right now people may be going through may be a little bit difficult. So what are some ways that we can get started? First thing, make it automatic. Many individuals do retirement savings automatically from their paycheck every single month. Do the exact same things for your emergency savings fund, and that can be a way to start building your fund over time. Secondly, you mentioned tax season. You may be getting a tax refund right now. Use that tax refund to really fortify that emergency fund and build that foundation. And third, look at your spending. Take a step back and see where you're spending money. Maybe there's subscriptions that you have right now that you're not really using. All of those items can be ways to really start building progress and building that base for your emergency fund.
Some good advice there for sure, because I think a lot of times people just think, I can't do it. But like you said, even kind of combing through your bills and looking at maybe those subscriptions that you're not using every day, and just kind of really taking a hard look at where your money's going. Where could people go if they want to get some more information and learn more about some of the things that we talked about?
We recommend starting at our website. It's edwardjones.com/financial wellness. Not only can you find information about all the things that I discussed, but you can also find a financial advisor in your area that can help get you started.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time and helping to get this information out to our viewers. You have a good rest of the morning, all right?
Absolutely. You do the same. Thank you.
All right, it is the first day of spring here on a March 20th. We are excited to be talking about spring because that is the perfect time for so many homeowners out there to improve their house, renovations, do-it-yourself home improvement projects. We want to talk to an expert about DIY projects. So we have brought into the digital desk Chip Wade. He's a favorite TV home improvement expert. Perhaps you recognize him. He's the original Emmy Award-winning host of HGTV shows like Elbow Room, Curb Appeal, The Block, and several others. Chip, how are you? Good morning.
I'm great, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So why is spring one of those great times for all those do-it-yourself projects that people are just ready to get involved in?
You know, I think it's the opportunity for us to take advantage of that kind of natural, energy-inducing life of all the trees coming out and that little sprig of warm weather. For me, it just boosts me full of energy, and it's like we need to harness that for productivity, doing the fun things, doing the necessary things, but doing it in a way that, you know, is not too cumbersome, that we can enjoy this process of all this new life.
I agree. So let's talk about where people should start with their spring projects, because they're like, okay, yes, I want to improve my house. Where to begin?
Well, one thing that I like to do to keep my motivation at this high level is to start with a project where I know I'm getting a great deal. Nothing kind of is a buzzkill, like feeling like you're paying too much for something. So I've actually found a site that's a little bit different than you might have experienced before. This is called Slick Deals. This is a community of millions of real people that work together to save. It's like shoppers helping other shoppers, and they do this by voting and vetting on these deals so that when you look at it, you can actually tell with confidence what deals are actually really great, which again, for me is awesome. It kind of takes that whole, you know, having to cross comparison shop off the table, saving you time. Again, these are hundreds of deals vetted every day, everything from power tools to, you know, bathroom vanities. They've got everything on there. So if you're in the market for something to buy, check out Slick Deals to give you that confidence that what you're buying is a great one.
What about suggestions for keeping our homes running smoothly? What about that?
Now, Andrew, one of the things, I can do so many things around the house, but one thing I despise is working on home systems like, you know, your HVAC system if it goes out, or, you know, your refrigerator and your other appliances. I recommend having a service in place where when the inevitable does happen, you know exactly where to go and you've got all of that already orchestrated. One great place to look is cinchhomeservices.com. What this is a home management system that's easy, that covers the repair and replacement of all of your home systems and appliances that you use every day. Basically, this is going to end up saving money, but ultimately what it's going to do is going to save you the hassle and the frustration of time of where am I looking, who can I trust to just come in and get the job done so that I can be focusing on the stuff that I actually enjoy doing, which is not working on any of these things. So again, it's a preventative measure to give you that peace of mind that ultimately we're all looking for. And again, we're talking about staying on this high of energy and motivation in the spring. Get this taken care of so it doesn't kind of undercut you. It's a great idea.
There's so many home improvement projects people are probably thinking about right now, but what about someone who wants a little something unique for the spring?
Well, I am one of those people. Every single year, I like to kind of reinvent the feel of some of the main areas in the house. But again, that can break the bank if you're not careful. So one of the most cost-effective big things you can do is refresh your space with new prints and frames and some wall decor that is cost-effective. Now, a place you can go is smallwoodhome.com. What they are, a family-owned business that they provide the quality, affordable, custom home solutions like your canvases and your framed prints. My kids, like everybody else's, grow so fast, and it seems like, oh my gosh, I just put that art up, but now I don't even recognize who that is in the picture. You know, to keep things fresh and up to date, you can upload your personalized art, create a gallery wall. All of these things are very easy, and right now they're offering 20% off your first order. So again, keeping in that same theme of saving money keeps us motivated, and this is a quick and easy refresh to your house. I'm doing it it, it's definitely something that I think you would benefit from as well.
What about the other items that are on your spring to-do list, Wade? What you got?
Well, one thing that I did this year that was brand new, I've designed and installed so many pools for other people over the years, but this is the first year I actually did it for myself and my family. I was a little hesitant because I was like, oh, the last thing I need is another thing to maintain. You know, I'm not looking at the fun it could be. I'm saying, how can I make this easier? So I did all the research for you and found what I feel like is the best pool cleaning robot out there. This is from Aiper. This is called the Aiper Elite Pro. This is a very powerful, easy to use cordless pool cleaner that basically will suck up all that gross stuff on the walls and the bottom of your pool. Again, yeah, it actually climbs the walls, cleans those too. The whole idea is that it just does it for you so you can actually enjoy your pool and not having to be working on it all the time, which is great. And again, saving money is what I'm all about. They have a code right now on Aiper.com, $150 with the code AIPER150. Again, really great things. When this thing gets done, it even parks itself beside the edge of the pool, which makes it really easy to just grab, charge again for the next time. Really, really good stuff. Technology is our friend when it comes to that. And I've got all this up for us, Andrew, on tipsontv.com in case you missed anything or you're like, oh, I like that, but I forgot what it was called. Check out tipsontv.com. We've got all of it there. And for any other inspiration that you might be looking for, I'm always doing projects on my social media. @ChipWade is my handle on everything. Check it out. Hopefully you'll be inspired to save money and pick the right stuff to make sure your attention is focused on the best productivity this spring to keep us all motivated and moving forward.
You've really motivated us on a Monday morning. Gosh, I mean, we're looking at all these things. We're taking notes here. We're like, hey, this looks really good. I love it. Chip Wade bringing it with the energy this Monday morning, first day of spring. Chip, thanks very much.
Andrew, thanks for having me.
Amanda Hansen back here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk. And you know, we've been talking about mental health here this morning. And so have you heard about the Living Well Network? It is a great service that is offered by Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare. And joining us now to talk more about it is Allison White, the supervisor for the Living Well Network. Glad to have you back here on the Digital Desk. How you doing?
Great. Thanks, Amanda.
So for people that maybe aren't familiar with the Living Well Network, can you talk about the work y'all do?
Sure. So we are a free community service, and we offer assessment and referral to behavioral health services. So anyone in the community can call us, and we will assess their need, and we'll match them with the right provider. So Amanda, think of us as a concierge service almost. So we're going to help connect you to the right person. And we also offer free mental health education to anyone in the community, churches, schools, civic groups, professional organizations. So we do a lot here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I know y'all stay busy. Can you tell us about this upcoming mental health breakfast that y'all have down the line?
Sure. So our 9th annual mental health breakfast is Tuesday, May the 2nd. It's over at the Hilton in East Memphis. And we are really excited to have our keynote speaker this year, Joe Pantalone. He is an Emmy Award-winning actor. You might remember him from The Sopranos, which was a long-running, great TV show. He's also been in The Matrix and some other TV and movie. His list goes on. And he is going to be talking about his battle with chronic depression. And we're also having a breakout session after our keynote speaker. And we have a local therapist who is going to be talking about all things men's mental health.
And, you know, I do want to talk, you know, with men, I think it's so important to be able to focus on their mental health. I think sometimes, a lot of times, men avoid that. They don't want to seem like they're having a hard time or they're struggling. Can we talk about some of the misconceptions when it comes to men and mental health?
So I think one of the biggest myths that especially men have about their own mental health is that, well, men don't get sad. We don't cry. Well, we know that that's not true. We know men suffer from depression and mental health issues just as much as women do. They are less likely to seek treatment. And I think the reason is because of these, you know, social norms that, you know, in these myths that we have, that men are supposed to be the strong ones, right? But if you look at statistics for suicide, for example, men make up 78% of all suicides in this country. So we know they're struggling, and we want them to be able to change that narrative and say it's okay not to be okay. We want them to seek out treatment when they need it.
And what are some signs maybe people could look out for to know if someone's struggling?
Right. So I think a lot of times with men, you might see more irritability for a certain period of time. You might see more decrease in their hobbies or activities they used to enjoy. And I think they're less like you're more likely to see that as opposed to maybe the sadness, maybe they're not getting up and not taking care of their hygiene routines. Although you can see that. I think though, we're looking out for other things too. The change in patterns and the change in behavior and the irritability more so.
And how can people contact the Living Well Network if they're saying, hey, I think I could benefit from the resources that they offer? How can they get in touch with y'all?
So we have a website. It's www.thelivingwellnetwork.org. We have lots of information on there. We also are here Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, and you can call us at 901-762-8558.
And again, that 9th annual mental health breakfast is coming up May 2nd. It's a big deal for you guys. I know the proceeds go to benefit the work that y'all do and to continue that work of offering that free mental health resources to people in the community. So Allison, I appreciate having you taking the time to join us today, and you have a good rest of the morning, all right?
Great. Thanks so much.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There was that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the Mid-South in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area in North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3, 4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40, will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms, and by that point at night, 8, 9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high, and those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there, because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out, at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72. But there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday 68, by Wednesday lower 60s.
All right, back here in the Action News 5 digital desk. Right now, we are looking at things that are coming up in the next hour here on Action News 5. If you're getting a tax refund this year, we have some suggestions on ways to make that money work for you. Also, the movement on a bill to reconstruct Tennessee's Achievement School District, how it could affect schools here in the Memphis area. And this morning's 5-star story, another one, shows you an example of how something old can become something new and magical once again. But at first, I want to talk about an expungement clinic over the weekend here. This is Saturday from 9 to 1. It'll be at Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church on Stage Road. FedEx workers with FedEx Ground, MATA, First Student Bus Company will be on site to discuss employment opportunities. NAACP will also be there for voter registration. All right, so later today, let me see where we are here. Later today, we're going to be talking about hearings for the Memphis police officers involved in the death of Tyre Nichols. The officers involved here, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Justin Smith, cases will be heard in Nashville. There are 3 of 5 charged with second-degree murder in the death of Tyre Nichols. If the officers named in today's hearing are decertified, they'll never be able to work in law enforcement anywhere. The upcoming decision comes a little over 2 months since those 5 officers were charged with second-degree murder. Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis made the decertification request in late January. The former officers appearing in today's hearing, one of them is represented by Blake Ballin, who's representing Desmond Mills. He said he has already surrendered his certification. In fact, he tells us that neither he nor his client will be attending the hearing.
Mr. Mills is taking the position that he does not want to be a law enforcement officer in Tennessee, even if they wanted him to be one. So we're kind of on the same page about this. So he has, as I've said before, very limited time, effort, resources, energy, just like all of us do. And so he's going to focus those on defending himself in a criminal case.
The former officers could bring evidence and legal counsel to the hearing to appeal the process. Also, former Lieutenant Dwayne Smith was also up for decertification, but he retired from Memphis Police before the process began. Action News 5 will have coverage from Nashville tonight on Action News 5. Let's talk about the interim superintendent of Memphis Shelby County Schools, Tony Williams. She says she's applying to take on the job permanently. She has served as head of the district since Dr. Joyce Ray resigned back in August. She's joining 24 other applicants. The district hired a firm to conduct a nationwide search for the superintendent of Tennessee's largest school district. The firm held public meetings, compiled research, and is screening candidates through the end of the month. All right, so let's talk about Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris and the county health department. It announced a new HIV coalition comes after the state announced it would refuse federal funds for HIV and prevention. The coalition will discuss ways to support organizations affected by the state decision.
He said it's a lot, but it's an ongoing process.
Took the court against Houston last night at FedEx Forum, and their star player, one of their star players, Ja Morant, took the court for the first time in almost 3 weeks. He played after serving an 8-game suspension, came off the bench, and the Grizzlies fans certainly showed their love. Standing ovation when he finally got in the game. Coming down late in this game, it was tied 113 apiece, but the Grizzlies ended up winning this one. Jaren Jackson Jr. that you just saw right there, he scored a season-high 37 points, and then, of course, Ja Morant had 17. The Grizzlies hold on to win this one, 130-125, and something else that they did last night, they won for the second consecutive season the Southwest Division Championship. Great to see.
Good, man. Still a little bit of, mixed emotions. I was excited to be back. I love these guys. I love our fans. I love the organization for, their continued support, throughout this process, I'm going through. And they helped me a lot. So I was excited to be back. Happy, we was able to get a win. And just got to, continue, what I've been doing and, be ready to go each and every night.
Phenomenal reception, as he was walking to the scorer's table, really, really excited for him, really excited for our fans to welcome him back. I thought he was great tonight, accepting of the opportunity to come off the bench, knowing how well the team was playing. And this is just part of the process to get him back, with the group. I thought he was great. I thought he played with a lot of great energy, playing with pace. We talked about, being that guy that can go score, but also set up your teammates, 5 assists, obviously, lower minutes than normal. But I thought his defensive urgency was pretty good.
All right, Grizzlies and Rockets play again tomorrow night, FedEx Forum. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. I want to tell you about Ole Miss women's basketball team. They made it to the Sweet 16 of the women's NCAA tournament. They will play Louisville tomorrow in Seattle. The game starts at 9 o'clock. All right, let's talk about the Lady Tigers of the University of Memphis. They're headed to Ohio for the NIT tournament. This Sweet 16 for that. They'll play Bowling Green today at 5 o'clock. It's the farthest the team has advanced in the tournament since 1999, and so we wish them good luck. All right, Arkansas State has found a new men's basketball coach. Byron Hodgson served as Alabama's assistant coach for the last 4 seasons. He's headed to Jonesboro. Expected a news conference will come down sometime next week. Alabama still in the NCAA tournament. Will play in the Sweet 16 on Friday. And Hodgkin said he will stay on the Alabama staff until the conclusion of the season. Want to tell you about National Puppy Day is today. The Memphis Animal Services celebrating by offering a $5 adoption for puppies under 5 months for the next 5 days ending on Monday, March 27th. Okay, so National Puppy Day. $5 adoptions at Memphis Animal Services. Well, it is definitely your time for a daily dose of cuteness here. Dogs versus dinosaur. A pair of boxers pulled no punches when their owner dressed up as a T-Rex and taunted them in their yard. Jeannie Moe says more.
A mere glimpse of green, some sort of alien being out in the backyard, and these two boxers, brother and sister, go nuts. T-Rex taunting them through the glass at their Las Vegas home. So, who was in that costume?
Oh, it was my husband.
Janine Walsh put her husband Andrew up to it. Nico and Stella were wary at first, but got bolder and bolder. Janine could barely stifle her laughter. Jurassic Bark quipped one commenter, though in that movie franchise, the dinosaurs scared a dog to death. But Nico and Stella were fearless. You don't think they smelled your husband and recognized him?
At first, they didn't. I could tell at first they had no idea what it was.
These are dogs not afraid to rumble with a Roomba.
No.
Their pursuit of the T-Rex lasted about a minute before he went down for the count. Janine says her husband wasn't scared. Andrew has rolled around with the dogs before, minus the dino suit. Finally, Janine stopped laughing long enough to ask, "Are you okay?" The boxers didn't bite, but they made holes.
This is where Nico then decided he wanted to dive inside of it and get my husband.
At least, unlike the dinosaurs, her husband didn't go extinct. Are you alive? Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
Okay, Andrew Douglas back here in the Action News 5 digital desk on the first day of spring. And, we're thinking about working out. And, of course, that is one of the big New Year's resolutions. But it's March now. The sun's out. We're supposed to be working out all the time, getting into shape. Well, you got to worry about your body and your health and your fitness and making sure that you don't hurt anything or strain anything or break anything or tear anything. March is also National Athletic Training Month, and joining us right now is Emily Collier. She is a certified athletic trainer with Campbell Clinic. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well, thank you. So tell us why it's so important for many of us, both young, the youth out there, and adults alike, to work with an athletic trainer when we're, you know, these weekend warrior types that love to just go out in the outdoors and have some fun.
So a good comparison I like to use to describe my profession is that athletic trainers are kind of like the Swiss Army knife or the utility player on a baseball team. We have a lot of knowledge with a lot of various topics involving sports medicine. So, you know, we have knowledge on injury prevention, how to properly treat and rehabilitate injuries. We have knowledge on modalities and extra things that you can do to help heal your injuries faster. We have knowledge in emergent and immediate care. So we can just kind of do a lot of different things that can get you from point A to point B a lot faster when it comes to injuries.
I understand that, and I know that Campbell Clinic works a lot with various sports teams, not only, you know, the Grizzlies or the Tigers, but also some local high school athletes as well. What are some of the most common injuries that you see, and perhaps what are some of the best ways to prevent that?
Yeah, so I work at a high school full-time and provide sports medicine coverage to a school that has 17 varsity sports. So we see a lot of injuries, but some of the most common ones that we deal with are sprains and strains of every muscle or tendon or ligament you could probably see. And then on the more severe side, we see ACL tears, a lot of concussions, broken bones. Unfortunately, there's not really a perfect formula to preventing injuries, but a good rule of thumb is just making sure that you warm up properly for the sport that you're about to perform. So I wouldn't recommend a football player do a volleyball player's warm up or a basketball player do a golf warm up. You just want to make sure that you're warming up those muscles that you're about to use. Secondly, I would advise that you have to listen to your body. So you know that if something's not feeling right, then you need to either take a step back and take a break, or if it's serious enough, you need to, you know, follow up with your athletic trainer or maybe go and see a physician about it, because there's things that we can do to help progress faster.
I always hear that it's so important to stretch before any kind of physical activity. What about ending with stretch? Which one's more important?
So usually when you're getting into exercise, you want to do what's called a dynamic warm-up, which is stretching with movement, because if you're just holding that static stretch or, you know, just standing and touching your toes, that type of a stretch, it's not as effective. It doesn't get your blood flowing quite as well as a dynamic warm-up does. So you really want a little bit of both. You want to do a dynamic warm-up at the beginning of the workout, and then at the end, it's okay to do some of that static stretching just to kind of help cool your muscles down, prepare your body for that rest phase.
What advice would you give parents and perhaps some student athletes out there who may be watching this? What advice would you give them to just kind of avoid injuries out there? You know, a lot of times you'll hear coaches and maybe some athletes, some former athletes will say, okay, well, if your son or daughter is involved in a sport, you want to make sure that they're involved in multiple sports so they work different muscles during different times of the year and they're balanced. Does that make any sense? Give me your best advice.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up, because there's so much research out there now speaking against sports specialization. So only playing one sport for more than 8 months at a time is not great for your body. You can get a lot of overuse injuries from that. So more and more we're recommending yeah, go ahead and play 2 or 3 sports a year, just so that you're changing it up and you're using different muscles and you're not just being repetitive for your entire athletic career. That can come with a lot of benefits. And also, I think it's a good mental benefit too, because you're not in the same setting every single day. You have something different to look forward to, maybe when the springtime comes around versus the sport that you're playing in the fall. Sports specialization is okay when you're older, but when you're a youth athlete, go out and try whatever interests you, and that's okay.
So, Emily, we know that it's so important to have certain people on the sidelines during games, whether it's collegiate games, professional games, high school games. Can you talk briefly with us about the importance of having an athletic trainer on the sidelines during these kinds of competitions?
So especially with it being March, I'm sure that you're seeing a lot of athletic trainers on TV right now with March Madness, and that's just the greatest way to kick off National Athletic Training Month, is getting to see and highlight all of the athletic trainers that work in all sorts of settings. It's important that we're on the sidelines and sitting on the bench with the team, because we have training for emergent and immediate care in the case of, a sudden cardiac arrest or any other emergency that may pop up. But we're also there for the little things, like if your star player rolls his ankle and needs to get it evaluated to see whether or not he can go back in or not. That's one of the main reasons why it's great to have us there for that immediate access, because we can make that decision whether or not they are able to continue on with the game, or if you need to change your game plan and maybe put in the next guy. We can deal with, anything from a rolled ankle to a cut, a broken finger. We're trained to kind of deal with everything. And in your career, you see pretty much anything and everything you could ever expect.
I bet, and that's why there are so many certifications that you guys have. After your name, there's all kinds of different certifications. Can you briefly explain some of those certifications? And I guess you have to update it almost every year, right?
Yeah. The LAT behind my name stands for Licensed Athletic Trainer. So that just means that I'm licensed to practice in the state of Tennessee. Every state usually has different standards that you have to qualify for in order to get that license. So that's the most important credential that I own, because it allows me to practice athletic training in the state of Tennessee. And then the ATC behind my name stands for Athletic Training Certified. That just means that I have passed the Board of Certification exam to be an athletic trainer. And then all of the other stuff after that is just additional certifications that you can go out and get. So the PN behind my name stands for Precision Nutrition. So I'm a certified nutrition coach. And it's really important to go out and get extra certifications, because the world of medicine and the world of sports medicine is constantly changing. There's new discoveries, new techniques that are coming out almost every single day. So in order to keep up with and provide the best care to our patients, it's important to go out and learn those new techniques, because there's not a perfect way to treat an injury. Every body reacts differently to a form of treatment. So what works for some athlete might not work for another athlete. So just having those extra tools in your toolbox really help to make the treatment and rehabilitation process a lot easier.
All right, Emily Collier, we really appreciate your time this morning and giving us the insight into what you do and how important your job is each and every day for so many different athletes, whether it's collegiate, high school, professional, and on this National Athletic Training Month. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There was that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the mid-south in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area in North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3-4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40, will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms, and by that point at night, 8-9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high in those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out, at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72, but there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday 68, by Wednesday lower 60s.
Amanda Hansen back here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk. You know, we've been talking about March being Colon Cancer Awareness Month, and so we want to make sure that you are informed with all of the health information you need to make sure that you are doing what you can. And joining me now to talk more about this is Dr. Mariah Wright, colorectal surgeon with St. Francis Medical Partners. Dr. Wright, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I'm glad to have you here on the Digital Desk talking about this topic. I think it's so important to make sure that people have the information they need to make sure that they're making proper healthcare decisions. So I guess starting things off, I know screening is so important in ordering to catch things like this early. What are those screening guidelines and how have they kind of changed?
So currently the colorectal cancer screening guidelines have changed. They used to be starting at age 50 for folks who were considered normal risk. Now we've decreased that down to age 45, and that's because we were noticing that there were a lot of folks who were getting diagnosed with more advanced cancers at that initial screening. So we decided to bump that age down so that we could catch more people in time to potentially cure their disease. We estimate that about 140,000 people will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer this year, and about 56,000 people will die from the disease. It's very preventable and treatable, and if caught early, we could save another 40,000 lives.
You know, I do have a question. I was curious. A lot of times, over the pandemic, a lot of people were avoiding some of these types of screenings, things like that. How important is it to catch this early? And when it comes to the symptoms, do you not really start seeing symptoms of this until it has progressed to a point, and that's why early detection is so important?
Absolutely. So there were tons of people who either weren't able to get the colonoscopies that were recommended by their primary care providers, or decided to put it off because they didn't want to be in a healthcare situation, which was totally understandable at the time. The reason that ends up hurting all of us in the long run is that, you know, when we do a colonoscopy, we're able to catch polyps before they even turn into cancer and prevent you from getting cancer in the first place. By no means is colonoscopy our only screening option. We can check the stool for blood. We can check the stool for abnormal DNA that would be coming from one of those polyps. But if those blood or stool DNA tests are abnormal, the next thing that we're going to recommend is a colonoscopy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the various ways to get screened. You hear a lot now, too, about these test kits that people can order. Is that kind of another way that people are kind of keeping a check of their health when it comes to their colon health?
Absolutely. So the most common one that we will use for colon cancer screening is the Cologuard test. And with that one, they send you a kit and you have your bowel movement into a little hammock, and then you put it in a jar and you send it off in the mail. And then the lab is going to take a look at it and check for abnormal DNA and for blood. And if either of those things comes back, then they're going to tell you that your test was positive and that you need to be set up for a colonoscopy. The upside of that test is there's no bowel prep and essentially no downtime. But the downside is that you're going to have to do it probably every 1 to 3 years. With a regular colonoscopy, because we're able to get out any polyps before they turn into anything, if you don't have polyps or if you're a regular average risk person, then potentially you only have to get screened every 10 years.
But of course, those kits do not replace getting a colonoscopy, correct?
No. So all it does is tell us whether you're at increased risk for having a polyp, but it does not catch absolutely every little thing. There are certainly smaller polyps that would not be caught with those tests. So colon cancer screening, the gold standard is going to be a colonoscopy so that we can find polyps before they turn into cancer and remove them.
And, you know, you mentioned risk. Are there people that are at higher risk than others? And then how much does family history play when it comes to something like this?
Sure. So folks who have a family history of colon cancer, either multiple family members or any family members diagnosed before the age of 50 are considered at an increased risk. And we're going to want to start screening them 10 years before their youngest family member diagnosis. So if you had a family member diagnosed with colon cancer at age 45, we're going to want to start screening you at age 35. Other things that contribute to a risk for colon cancer would be something like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, where you've got chronic inflammation going on in your colon, and that's going to increase the risk for cancer as well.
And just a question, this might be beyond what you can tell me, but you were talking about people that maybe have a higher risk getting that 10 years earlier. Is that something that would be covered by insurance if you are at higher risk? That's just out of curiosity.
So for the most part, it will depend on where you are with your deductible and all that kind of stuff. But insurance should cover it as part of typical screening and a preventative measure. It would be considered preventative health care. But if you haven't met your deductible, then you're going to be responsible for a certain amount, and every health insurance plan is different.
Absolutely. I just figured I'd throw that out there just out of curiosity myself. So let's talk about the symptoms. What kind of symptoms do people need to be aware of? And if they have them, when do they need to go see a doctor?
So the most common symptom is blood in your stool or some rectal bleeding. And after that, probably a change in your bowel habits and some abdominal pain. Those do all tend to be sort of later signs unless we're looking at cancers that are very low in the rectum, right up against your sphincter where your bowel movement is coming out. So if you notice any of those things, then you should talk with your doctor to discuss your risk and determine whether you need to proceed immediately with screening or whether there's other tests that they want to do first. The take-home point really is that for the most part, colon cancer doesn't have symptoms until it's further progressed. So staying on top of your screening instead of waiting until you have a problem is the best way to stay healthy.
And that kind of leads me into my next question. How preventable is colon cancer? And are there certain lifestyle changes that you can make to lower your risk of ending up with colon cancer?
So the best way to prevent colon cancer is to get your colonoscopy, which I know I've said like 500 times now. But lifestyle changes, a high fiber diet, which means 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day, is going to help decrease your risk for colon cancer by making sure that all of your colon cells have all of the nutrition that they need. The high fiber diet is going to get all of those good carbohydrates to your colon cells so that they stay happy. And it's also going to keep the normal bacteria that lives in your colon happy. Typical American diet is like 3 to 5 grams of fiber a day. Folks who are doing a good job with fruits and vegetables are usually more in the 10 to 15 kind of ballpark. So it's a good idea to take a look at how much fiber you're eating and try and increase from there. There's plenty of ways to get food fiber into your diet, but if a supplement is what works best for you, that's totally good too. The main thing to remember if you are increasing your fiber is to drink plenty of water too, because fiber without water is concrete and nobody wants that.
That is good advice. That's something that people probably don't think about. And I know that a way that I kind of try to track it, because like you said, a lot of people probably don't even know how much fiber they're getting in their diet. I actually use an app to help me with that. So I know that I'm hitting the amount of protein and carbs and everything to, keep myself healthy. Anything else you want to leave people with before we let you go? I mean, I know like you were mentioning several times, make sure you're getting that colonoscopy and making those steps to make sure that you're preventing this from developing into something more. Is that kind of the big message you want to leave people with?
That's certainly the most important part of the message, but the other part of the message too is that colonoscopy is not as bad as you're thinking it is. The bowel prep is not fun. You're going to be hanging out with your toilet for the majority of the night before the colonoscopy, but the colonoscopy itself, you get medication to keep you comfortable. And it's just, it's one day out of your life to prevent a whole bunch of misery.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Wright, I appreciate you taking time today to share more about colon cancer, the symptoms, the importance of screening. We appreciate you having on, and hopefully we'll have you back on here again in the near future.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of the day.
This portal will be the hub for everything that is school support for all schools across the entire state. And inside of this hub will be professional development, your opportunities for literacy, opportunities for gaining proficiency, all of the best practices, along with interventions for those schools that are underperforming.
So only 2 out of the 16 are within the Nashville area, most of them. So 14 out of the 16 are located in the Memphis area. And Antonio Parkinson's bill would change the Achievement School District to the Tennessee Education Achievement Portal, making it a resource for all public and charter schools throughout the state. It would be something that teachers and administrators can access at any moment while keeping schools with struggling academic scores within their original districts. It's something that certainly they're going to be talking about in Nashville and the state legislature throughout this session. Of course, we'll keep you posted on it in the Action News 5 digital desk. Let's see. I also want to let you know about Tony Williams is the interim superintendent, and she is applying. We mentioned this earlier on the digital desk. She is applying to be the permanent superintendent. She, along with 24 others, are applying for the job, and we expect to hear more about that search process at the end of the month. Okay, it's a decision that could affect 150 million Americans. The federal government's threatening to ban TikTok in the U.S. unless changes are made. John Lawrence has more on that.
TikTok may soon be kicked off the block.
Some politicians have started talking about banning TikTok. Now, this could take TikTok away from all 150 million of you.
The company's CEO, Shou Chew, is scheduled to testify before Congress Thursday, where he is expected to tell House lawmakers that the app's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, is, quote, not an agent of China. Chew says he also plans to discuss
all that we're doing to protect Americans using the app and deliver on our mission to inspire creativity and to bring joy.
The Biden White House says it may prohibit the use of TikTok in the U.S. unless the app splits from ByteDance, citing the service could pose national security concerns.
Right now, over 150 million people's data is at risk, and that's something we're all concerned about, including, by the way, a lot of those people that are using those applications today that probably aren't aware of it.
But not everyone supports potentially pulling the plug specifically on TikTok.
American social media companies have been used to facilitate harm in tremendous ways. So let's talk about federal legislation to ensure the safety and security of everyone who uses social media.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw testifying before the Senate Commerce Committee on rail safety in the East Palestine train derailment during his second Senate hearing in weeks. He told lawmakers he's deeply sorry for the derailment on the people of East Palestine, Ohio, and neighboring communities. Misty Allison, a resident of East Palestine, testified that the derailment created anxiety in the community and that people and animals remain sick.
I want to open by stating how deeply sorry I am for the impact this derailment has had on the citizens of East Palestine and the surrounding communities.
The anxiety is real. My 7-year-old has asked me if he is going to die from living in his own home. What do I tell him? This preventable accident has put a scarlet letter on our town.
Yeah, it's an awful situation here. Other witnesses during the hearing included the Ohio governor and the chair of the NTSB. The White House officially disbanding its COVID response team this May. It's been winding down in recent months. It says that it is no longer needed for nationwide rollouts of vaccines, treatments, and medical supplies. CDC says 2 more deaths are linked to a rare bacteria that's found in recalled eye drops. Brings the total number of deaths to 3. There's also been cases of vision loss here. We're talking about Global Pharma Healthcare's artificial tear lubricant eye drops, first recalled back in February. Most patients affected reported using Esericare artificial tears, but some reported using different brands here. One of the best stories of the morning, coffee is good for you when it comes to health and fitness goals. Yes, a new study found that coffee has striking effects on physical activity. It can cause people to move around more and take on average 1,000 extra steps a day. I love it, but keep in mind, people lost about 36 minutes of sleep on days when they drank coffee. The more coffee they drank, the less they slept. So the finding's a little bit complex, but guess what? Researchers say Best thing to do here, you drink coffee in the morning, you avoid it in the afternoon and evening, and you're good to go. It's awesome. And again, coming from this copious amount of coffee that I drink each and every morning, that is one of my favorite stories of the morning. So right now, we're going to be talking about Memphis police working to put a stop on pedestrian fatalities in the city of Memphis. We hear about this all the time. We report them all the time in the Bluff City. Stephanie Douglas reports that most of the drivers take off after the incident.
This intersection's been an issue for this neighborhood for quite some time.
No matter the time of day, Evergreen District Community Leader Brams Bora-Kofared says this four-way intersection on East Parkway and Sam Cooper remains busy.
It's loud, it's dangerous, there's no lighting, the signage is not very good.
Within the past year, there have been at least 3 pedestrian fatalities here.
In August, my son's friend was killed at the intersection right over here at East Parkway and Sam Cooper.
Most recently, a woman who lost her life Wednesday morning. Memphis police officials say a black Q50 Infiniti hit the woman at the intersection around midnight. Just hours earlier, officers had to shut down Union Avenue at Kimbrough, where another pedestrian was hit and killed. Police say the driver took off before investigators arrived. MPD Colonel Marcus Worthy, commander of the Traffic Unit Division, says this year's pedestrian fatality toll stands at 14.
The biggest thing to all these fatality accidents, criticals, for vehicles and individuals, are people going too fast.
Colonel Worthy says MPD's new specialized traffic enforcement unit is trying to crack down on that.
We're trying to beef up the traffic division so that we'll have more officers out here to try to do traffic enforcement to slow individuals down.
In the meantime, Evergreen District residents say they formed a group to explore ways to make their streets safer.
Next weekend, we're going to walk with people in our neighborhood and try to come up with ideas.
Okay, I want to show you this. Man's in jail in connection to a pedestrian crash this week. Investigators say it happened early yesterday morning. Sam Cooper and East Parkway. That's Terrence King. He's charged with having no driver's license, financial responsibility. He did, however, stay on scene after the crash happened. After several years of booming home prices that pushed many people out of the housing market, new data shows house prices are dropping for the first time in more than a decade. New report from the National Association of Realtors. Median price of U.S. homes in February was $363,000, down 0.2% from the same month last year. Analysts say the decline may be small, but it marks a turning point for the industry.
Home buyers or prospective home buyers all across the country are really going to welcome this good news. That's a welcome sign that perhaps all of the peak in the pricing, it's starting to bottom out a little bit.
All right, if you're getting a tax refund this year, it's a good idea to go ahead and plan out how you might want to spend it. Rachel DePompa has more on that.
Getting a big check back from the government, it can be fun. But Nathan Grant, a senior finance industry analyst with MoneyTips.com, says you really need to plan out how you're going to spend every dollar of that refund. Two of the most common ways are to pay off high-interest debt like a credit card, or by using the money to replenish your emergency savings account. He says both of these options are great, but it's also okay to use a portion of the money for something like a home improvement project.
While it might not be maybe the best thing that you want to do, getting it out of the way when you do get money from something like a tax return, it might prevent future headaches because it might be one of those things that as you put it off, the risks get higher.
Grant says it's also okay to let yourself do something fun with your tax return, or maybe use some of that money to buy a want instead of a need, especially if it's something that's going to help you down the road.
Sometimes it is nice to use a tax return for something like funding travel or getting maybe like replacing a phone or a computer that's old, where it's like, yeah, you need to replace it, but it's kind of more of a want than a need.
Whatever idea you come up with for your tax return, think about it before you act. And if you stick with the tried and true paying down high interest debt, he says that will benefit you the most in the long run. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk. Roughly 70% of the world's fresh water is used in agricultural production, but extreme weather is really making it tougher to grow crops these days. We are marking this year the 30th annual World Water Day. It is March 22nd, and there's a deep connection between our water and our food. It has never been more critical. Let's bring in someone to discuss a recent poll finding. Miora McDonald, Director of Environment Program at the Walton Family Foundation, joins us on the digital desk. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for having me. I know you guys are in Memphis at the you're sitting there in at the Mississippi River.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us the results of this Morning Consult poll that really kind of did a deep dive into some of the research we're talking about.
Yeah, so we're at the Walton Family Foundation. We focus on this connection between water, food, and climate. And we really focus on agriculture because that's at the center of that. And agriculture is our biggest user and our biggest polluter of water. So on World Water Day this week and every week, we think it's important to think about how we can improve agricultural practices in order to protect water. And so at the Walton Family Foundation, we focus on coming together with farmers and government and companies, food companies that want to support that transition to more sustainable agricultural practices. And the good news from the poll is that Americans overwhelmingly want to support farmers to make that transition.
Moira, it just seems that there are so many things that are interconnected in our world today. Can you talk about the connection between our water, our food, and the climate?
Yeah, so I think people always find it surprising that 70% of our fresh water is used in agricultural production. And as I mentioned, that makes water both the biggest user of fresh water, but also the biggest polluter of fresh water. So in the long run, improving the quality of our agricultural practices and making better use of our water resources are totally intertwined. They're intertwined for us to have a safe drinking water into the future and also to have, safe and healthy food into the future. So at the Walton Family Foundation, we try to help figure out what are the low-hanging fruit for farmers to make that transition to more sustainable practices. We spend a lot of time on cover crops. Cover crops are a crop that farmers can grow after they harvest their main crop in the fall and before they plant their next crop in the spring. These cover crops green up really fast in the spring and they protect our soil, particularly during those heavy spring storms that want to carry away our soil resources that are so critical for farmers in terms of their future economic health. And carrying away that soil is also terrible for our water resources. It's terrible for our water quality. So that's why we try to come together with others to help farmers get that right set of technical support and also financial support to try to make that transition to better practices over time.
So March 22nd is World Water Day, the 30th anniversary here. How should we mark that day or recognize it?
Well, I think you all, with the Mississippi at your doorstep, should get out and figure out if you can go kayak on the Mississippi or just take a walk along it. But, we know people all over the country want to, people love their rivers and their oceans and their lakes, and they want to go out and recreate and spend time there. But we also know that water is that lens through which most Americans are experiencing climate change, whether that's droughts in the West or more intense storms on the coasts or flooding in the center of the country. We know that water is that first line of climate change, and that that because agriculture is such an important user of water, that making those changes to agriculture are really the key to being able to support our water resources for the long term. And that poll that you mentioned, that Morning Consult poll, just told us that 76% of voters support helping farmers make changes that support land, water, and health in their agricultural practices. So as you celebrate World Water Day, I want you to get out there and go for a hike, but I also want you to think about supporting farmers that are trying to take better care of our water.
That sounds great. So we have thousands of people that watch us here on our digital channel here, Moira. Where can they go to get more information about this topic?
I'd love for them to come to our website at waltonfamilyfoundation.org. We have a lot of information there on the connection between water, food, and climate, and we'd love to help you learn more.
Okay, Moira McDonald, Director of the Environment Program at the Walton Family Foundation. We really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk. I want to tell you about a new study that says 11 minutes of moderate exercise a day can lengthen your life. Just 11 minutes, moderate exercise each day can lengthen your life. Okay, so let's talk more about this study with Alex Xavier Seals. He is an exercise specialist with Regional One Health, joining us on the digital desk. How are you? What's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So tell me about this new study and some of the findings behind it. I'm very interested in this.
So the study shows that 11 minutes is all you really need to stay healthy compared to doing 30 minutes a day or something as an hour at the gym. So if you feel that you do not have enough time in the day, you definitely can find 11 minutes in your day to work out if needed. And it also shows that moderate exercise can lower your cardiovascular risk by 17% or so. It can lower your early death risk for about 23%, and it can lower your cancer risks for about 7%. So it's quite an interesting study.
Is your first name Alex Xavier? I don't know.
Alex Xavier, yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Alex Xavier. I appreciate it. So 11 minutes here. Give me some examples of moderate exercise. Are we talking about interval training? Are we talking about taking a brisk walk? What are we talking about?
So interval training might not be where you will want new people to start because that can be a little intimidating. But yes, brisk walking would definitely do justice. A nice jog, a power walk, jumping jacks, anything where you're getting that heart rate elevated and that breathing elevated will be good enough to consider good exercise.
So the CDC recommends 150 hours of exercise each week. So this is about half of what the CDC recommends, and you still have the benefits, right?
Exactly. So if you look at that CDC recommendation, that'll be about 30 minutes a day if you work out 5 days out the week. However, if you choose to just do 11 minutes, you're doing about 55 minutes for that week.
Okay, and this is just to maintain health, body health. It's not, we're not addressing losing weight or building muscle mass, nothing like that. This is just about maintaining optimal health.
Exactly. It's just mainly about, like you said, maintaining optimal health. If you do want to do something along the lines of losing weight or gaining muscle, then yes, you would have to do something more strenuous. But if you just want to stay healthy and active, as long as you're moving, you're doing just great.
Okay, so Alex Xavier, let's talk about some simple ways people out there, many viewers, we have thousands of people that watch us on the digital desk each and every day, some simple ways for people to work in exercise in their daily life. And again, all they need is 11 minutes a day, right?
Yes, exactly. So some simple things that you can do. Like we said earlier, you can walk. So if you find yourself at work, you have an hour lunch break. Take your time, walk in the parking lot, walk around the building, go talk to your coworkers productively and engage in motion. You can wash your car by hand versus going through a car wash. You can walk your dog if you have a dog for an extended period of time during your lunch break. There's plenty of things you can do. You can do some jumping jacks at your desk while you're working. If you're able to prop your computer up higher, maybe you have a standing desk at work, maybe work while you're walking or work while you're squatting. There are plenty of ways that you can find ways to exercise for a very short amount of time.
I like that. I like that. And then, and I know it's so important to keep moving. Can you talk to our viewers about why it's important to just kind of keep the body going?
Yes. So moving is one of the biggest reasons that we know that we're living. So why not move and express that energy and that vitality that we have when we move? So it is very important to stay active, very important to stay healthy. We want to have the best, healthiest, longest lives that we can. And the simple fact is moving will get you there. So as long as you're moving, you do not have to do anything strenuous. Just do something, because something is better than nothing.
Exactly. Well said there. Let's talk about some ways that people can find maybe some of these recommendations, suggestions, tips online, and what's the main point you want to leave people with after this interview?
Yeah, so you can always refer to the CDC. We've spoken about them. You can go to the World Health Organization's website and find recommendations as far as what they consider good exercise habits. If you go to your local gym, I'm sure the trainers there will be able to assist you and let you understand more about optimal health and exercising appropriately. And I would consider the biggest takeaway that I would want people to know about exercise is that it does not have to be hard. It does not have to be difficult. It can be fun. So just get out there and move, get out there and do something, be happy, be active. All right.
Yes, yes. Exercise can be fun. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Alex Xavier Seals, exercise specialist with Regional One Health. We appreciate your time. Thanks for the recommendations.
Thank you so much.
All right, appreciate that. So let's talk now about a 5-star story that Kim Clark put together. This is about the Grand Central Station. 100 years ago, it was called the Grand Central Station. It was a passenger terminal, it was a rail hub for 6 different lines. Today, it's an incredible example of how something old can become something new and magical. And if you've ever been down there and been at the hotel right now, it is extraordinary. Here's Kim's report.
Central Station Memphis has anchored the corner of Main and G.E. Patterson since 1914.
And served the Pacific Railroad line for many, 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 many years. And there's been many incarnations of this building, but it's been open and in use in Memphis since then.
The station was virtually abandoned and deserted after World War II until 2019. Central Station's general manager explains.
It was repurposed as a hotel. So it's a Hilton Curio flagged hotel. It's a great story and a great partnership between Kemmons Wilson, McLean Wilson, and Henry Turley, the city of Memphis, Amtrak, MATA, all really in partnership to repurpose this area, which in total was about 17 acres of property, to convert that into this hotel. You have the Melco Theater next door and the South Bluff complex that we're adjacent to as well.
Central Station Memphis is like most Hilton Curios, a unique local property transformed into new life.
The Curio flag is kind of a boutique arm of the Hilton umbrella, and I think honestly this is it's like the 3rd Curio that I've worked at, but easily I think the most unique.
And the local flavor that runs throughout the hotel is intentional.
What we try for every day is to have a really, really Memphis rich experience for everyone, and that's articulated in the story of the hotel, of being the train station.
From the artwork in the lobby.
As you come into the hotel, This is also part of the welcome in the lobby experience.
To the 8 and Sand Bar and Lounge, where guests can sip craft cocktails while listening to Memphis jams and flip through the Memphis-inspired vinyl collection.
It's almost 4,000 records that all have a Memphis tie, whether it was recorded in Memphis, Memphis artist, a song about Memphis.
Guests can also enjoy live DJs on an organ-turned turntable, where Memphians are known to hang out with out-of-town hotel guests.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful cross-section of all of Memphis. Age, race, gender, it's a great to see, yeah.
The walls of the 123 guest rooms with speaker-inspired mini fridges also hold custom artwork. In this case, photographs taken along Amtrak's City of New Orleans passenger line, which still stops at Central Station twice a day.
What Jamie Harmon did was rode the City of New Orleans line from New Orleans to Chicago and back and just snap photos from the train, would hop off the train, and thematically they're pretty random. But when it ties into the story and really where we've sat in the history of Memphis and being on the train line, it's like, oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Even the guest floor hallways are rail inspired.
Even the carpet was meant to resemble train track and a train line as well. So the tile that you see in the hallway is original tile from 1914.
Although reminders of the past abound, you'll find visual surprises in the renovated meeting and event spaces too.
Some of the paintings, large and small, like every corner would be another kind of point of discovery, kind of using it as a big backdrop for a gallery and forgetting that you were even once kind of in a train station.
Take a trip to the hotel's ground floor and you'll find the French Brassiere Bishop.
And the service is fabulous.
From superstar chefs Andy Ticer and Mike Hudman, featuring Southern French fare, served for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You can even order it to your room.
We really want to be Memphis's living room, to come, explore, work, travel, rest, eat, sleep, just all of it. We really want to be an active participant and really hub of all great things culturally and travel in the city of Memphis.
Central Station, Memphis, transforming our past into the future. Another reason we love calling this place home. In the South Main Historic District, Kim Clark, Action News 5.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There was that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the mid-south in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area in North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3, 4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40. Will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms. And by that point at night, 8, 9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high in those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there, because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out, at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72, but there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday 68, by Wednesday lower 60s.
All right, Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk. I want to show you the cover of the latest edition of the Memphis Flyer, out in newsstands now, taking care of beerness. All right, that is the cover there, but we're going to be talking about a couple of other stories that are chock full in the Memphis Flyer. And we all know when you get in the Memphis Flyer, there are all kinds of articles that you can peruse and look at and read more. Of course, memphisflyer.com. You can read them at your desktop or your computer or your phone. I'm joined now by someone who's never been on the digital desk before. We got Kaylin Johnson, a reporter for the Memphis Flyer, joining us for the first time. Kaylin, it's good to meet you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming on the digital desk for us this morning. I see that you have 2 stories out this week worthy of attention. Tell me about the STD rates here in Memphis. Some surprising news for some people out there. Other people might not be surprised.
Most definitely. So Interbody.com did a study, and it shows that Memphis, Tennessee was ranked #1 with the highest STD rates out of 100 cities in the United States. And I thought this was fairly interesting because for a long time, I believe Jackson, Mississippi was #1, so Memphis has overtaken that spot. And I also thought it was worth mentioning that this was during the time when it was really heavy in the news that HIV funding would actually be cut from the state of Tennessee.
So that's interesting, Kaylin, because it's like you just mentioned. I remember hearing Jackson, Mississippi was the top spot, and then Memphis overtook Jackson. Did it explain why the factors were had Memphis overtaking Jackson? Was there something that we're missing here on what we did specifically or didn't do?
Well, I think one of the things that they really focused heavily on is that the STD burden is not equal in all of our cities. And one of those things was basically saying that minority populations are basically more susceptible to these HIV and all these other STDs. And when I talked to Krista Wright of The Haven, one of the things that she really focused heavily on was that one of the misconceptions about HIV and other STDs is that it's predominantly African American, and that is by behavior. But she also explained that that's simply not true. Most of the time it's due to lack of resources and accessibility.
Okay, and you can read more about this article here in the Memphis Flyer, STD capital of the country, Memphis, Tennessee. You have another article here, Kaylin, calling, it's about drag. It's called Rage on the Stage. Tell me more about that.
Yes, so as of now, the House and Governor Bill Lee decided to sign into a bill basically that restricts drag performances from happening in public spaces or basically anywhere where a child could be seen basically can see these drag performances. And so one of the things that I really found interesting in my drag coverage in the past and in talking to other drag performers was that one thing that they really hold symbolic to them are bricks. And it's not a violent meaning, or when they choose to use a brick in their performances, it's not actually like anger involved in it. It's actually paying homage to the Stonewall riots, which a lot of people give credit to giving to the gay rights movement. And you'll start to see that history is kind of repeating itself. And actually Memphis in the past has had pageants that pay homage to the Stonewall riots, because there was a time when drag performers were not allowed to even go out in public. So to kind of see that history repeat itself, I thought that was a really good starting point, and that these performers wanted to, I guess, voice their rage in an artistic way to not only give them the space to voice what's going on, but other people in the community as well.
Yeah, I learned something with your article, Kaylin. I had no idea that the brick was that kind of symbol, and it's kind of making a comeback there. Tell me more about yourself. Since this is the first time we're interviewing you, tell me about yourself. Are you a Memphian, native Memphian? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm originally from South Haven, Mississippi. However, I did receive my bachelor's degree from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. So I'm a Tennessean at heart.
Okay, excellent. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on the Action News 5 digital desk, and really appreciate your work here with the Memphis Flyer, taking care of beerness. This is on newsstands now. Of course, you can read more of Kaylin's work there at Memphis Flyer and memphisflyer.com. We appreciate your time once again. Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's switch gears right now and let's talk about seasonal allergies. Do you get it in the fall and spring? I certainly do. I think actually the spring is worse for me. Well, just like humans, dogs can suffer from seasonal allergies as well. They have all kinds of signs that can kind of give you a hint that they're dealing with it. Scratching, chewing, licking. It can be rough on dogs. Get it? Rough? Rough on dogs? All right, let's talk more about this before I get booed out there. I got Dr. Dana Liska. She's a veterinary dermatology specialist at Zoetis. Is that right, doctor?
You have it right, Andrew.
Good, good. Well, listen, I appreciate you joining us. Tell us what exactly what kind of seasonal allergies that dogs have, and what are their triggers?
Absolutely. You know, you really created a great introduction saying that you suffer from allergies in the fall and the spring. And I imagine that you are sneezing, sniffling, maybe itchy eyes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So think about those same things can happen in my patients seasonally. But what they do is they show their allergies most oftentimes in their skin. And what that usually looks like in the beginning is that they're itchy in their skin. Left untreated, we could get to some bigger problems like secondary infections and hair loss.
I was going to say, it'd be interesting to kind of see in terms of what happens to dogs when things are left untreated. And I understand there's some skin allergies involved too when it comes to seasonal allergies. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, if we're talking specifically about seasonal allergies, I think of those as being the things in the environment that cause that itch and inflammation in the dog skin. And I think your viewers will appreciate this and it will resonate with them because it is the same thing. It's the pollens outside. It's the weeds, the trees, the grasses, the molds, house dust mite. Those are all things that go into causing that seasonal allergy.
So let's talk now about the signs that dog owners should be looking for, especially this time of year over the next 3 weeks, to see if their dog is one of those that suffer from seasonal allergies.
Absolutely. I imagine it's starting to warm up down there in the Memphis area, just like it is here in Dallas. And while we relish that warm up, it does bring the allergies out. And so what I want your viewers to think about is just recognizing that their dogs might lick or scratch or just even do a little bit of chewing, and that's natural. But when they sense that it's excessive, so it could be scratching, rubbing, rolling, biting, chewing, ear scratching, head shaking, all of those things can be a symptom of allergy. And I want your viewers to think, if my dog is having problems in its skin, I've got to get it in to see its veterinarian.
So we've kind of identified the problem here. Let's talk about solutions, the best way to relieve a dog, perhaps a dog's itch.
Absolutely. Do not delay. Get your dog in to see its veterinarian. Your dog's veterinarian is the best person to assess the skin at that time, maybe do some very simple, non-invasive tests, and then be able to sit down and talk to you about options for therapy. And that's the beauty of the modern medicine era that we live in, that there are options. One of the options that we offer at Zoetis that we are so very proud of is an FDA-approved therapy for dogs with itchy skin, and it's called Apoquel. And what I appreciate so much about it is that it starts working within 4 hours to relieve that itchy, inflamed skin, and also helps control that itch within 24 hours.
You know, we broadcast to thousands of people that tune into the Digital Desk each and every weekday morning. Is there, and I'm sure there's plenty of dog owners out there, anything else you want to say to the dog owners to perhaps remember? And another question I have, is there something like maybe a shampoo that can offer some relief?
Yeah, absolutely. So topical therapy is really important with patients with skin disease. Sometimes when patients have skin infections, though, they need a very specific type of shampoo. And so again, it kind of just brings me back to that idea of if there's a problem in the dog's skin, get that dog in to see the veterinarian so the veterinarian can make that assessment and decide what shampoo would be most appropriate. And again, also what therapies would be most appropriate for the itch and inflammation.
Okay, Dr. Dana Liska, a veterinary dermatologist specialist at Zoetis. We really appreciate the deep dive into this and really opening our eyes to seasonal allergies affecting everybody in your household, including our four-legged family members. Thanks so very much.
Absolutely. Hey, Andrew, can I share one more thing? Just that deep dive. I would love for your viewers to take that deep dive and go to itchingforhelp.com.
All right, despite the economic downturn, there is a new report out there that shows private equity is boosting local businesses, and we want to bring in someone to talk about this particular investment. More specifically, let's bring in now Jamal Hagler. He's Vice President of Research for American Investment Council. Jamal, thanks for joining us on the Digital Desk. Tell us exactly what private equity is and how it's different from other investments. Good morning.
Well, Andrew, good morning, and thank you for having me. So private equity is different than other investments because with private equity investors give money, but they also provide their expertise. They roll up their sleeves and they help businesses navigate any challenges or anything that may come their way. Additionally, they help to open up new supply chains as well as find additional avenues for sales. So private equity managers really partner with the businesses that they purchase to help them grow and create jobs throughout the country.
Yeah, I mean, so many business owners look for support during the pandemic, and I guess this was one of the ways that they could get support from some of the private sector there. What are the benefits, private equity businesses and investments in Tennessee? What are some of those benefits, and what are some examples where private equity backed companies in our state here?
Wow. In 2022 alone, about $19 billion was invested in Tennessee and 148 companies, companies like True Green and Southern Towing Company. And that capital helps businesses to navigate any challenges that they would encounter. It also is helpful to build new facilities, hire new employees, look for new avenues of new products, and additional helping with lowering cost of supplies and things of that nature.
So let me ask you this, Jamal. We've been talking about how the private equity has been helping some of these businesses. Can you tell us about this report that we're hearing about with some of the key findings? Apparently, this is the new report from the American Investment Council. Tell me that.
Yes. So I think the number one takeaway is that private equity invests in every state and every congressional district throughout the country. Additionally, I think while many people think of private equity and may think of larger businesses, the vast majority of investments are in smaller businesses. 46% of investments went to companies with 100 employees or less, and approximately 62% of investments went to small businesses. So I think one thing that people should remember is that private equity helps small businesses grow and expand and reach new horizons.
Let's talk about elected leaders and how they can help facilitate private equity investments in our area, not just Tennessee, but of course we broadcast to areas of Mississippi and in Arkansas.
Well, I think the number one thing is stability. I think you can't change the rules of the road in the middle. And I think, things that would disrupt what's already known and can affect the ability to invest and the ability to put capital to work to benefit communities, workers, and businesses alike.
Okay, Jamal, is there any place where people can go and get some more information on what we discussed and perhaps do a deep dive for themselves?
Absolutely. If you want to check out the report, please go to investmentcouncil.org.
Okay, Jamal Hagler, Vice President of Research for the American Investment Council. We appreciate your time, Jamal. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There was that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the Mid-South in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area in North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3, 4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40, will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms, and by that point at night, 8, 9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high in those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out. at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72, but there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert Weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday 68, by Wednesday lower 60s.
All right, it is Tuesday morning, and when we have a Tuesday, you know, not only is the club going up on a Tuesday, but so is Talisa Franklin. She's with us at WAVN The Trend. Talisa, good morning. How's it going?
Amazing. It's a great morning, and even greater because I'm talking to you.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, I appreciate it. Feel the same way. Tell me some of the events that you got going on. I see we have a couple of them.
We do. Listen, this Friday night, I am inviting people to the Kickback, baby. Well, the Kickback is an initiative. The Lord really showed it to me last week, and I called on a couple men that's in our community and said, listen, I need you to invest some time in some other young boys so they can be what we know that they are called to be. And so this Friday night, for boys and men only. And I just want to invite people out, right? So if you are a man and you know you have some valuable resources, valuable time, some valuable words that you can share and drop some deposits in some young boys, I want to see your face in the place. If you are a single mom or grandma or auntie or uncle, and you have a young boy in your family and you just really want somebody to talk to them and hopefully steer them on that right direction, listen, I need you to bring them, drop them off. We have a space for you to wait because this space will be for men and boys. And so the women, y'all come, we got a space for y'all. Y'all gonna hang out and just talk to me. We just gonna have girl time, right? But we really want to take an opportunity for these boys and these men to have real life conversations, right? And then they're going to have food, and they're going to have fun, and they're going to have fellowship because not only that they're going to have fun, but they're going to have those real life conversations with brothers that have survived so many different things that maybe came from challenges communities, maybe came from a challenge home, maybe didn't see no hope in the beginning. Now they want to inspire you for hope. So these are men inspiring boys. It's happening this Friday night at my church in Willing Souls Church in Douglas area. Listen, in 38108 community, I need you. If you know that you are a man and you said, Talisa, I love this, I got to be a part. Listen, we know the problem. We see the problem, what's happening with our young men. But the answer is, are you doing anything? Are you investing any of your time to change the life of one young man? And so what ultimately happen is you won't be in the church setting. We'll be sitting at tables, and we'll have some chess, and we'll have some checkers and some board games and some food. And that's going to give you real men an opportunity to talk to that next young man and see how you can impart some positive things in him. Because what we don't want to see and to continue to see is our young men going down the wrong road. And you men that have survived from going down the wrong road, or you know you have something valuable, or you got a son that's going in the right direction, you may want to bring you and your son so you other young men can see your son or what it looks like to have a positive reaction. Andrew, it is so critical that we do what we need to do for our children.
Yeah, no question about it, Talisa. I 100% agree. I've been a part of these events in the past, and they are so important. I mean, you know, boys need a father figure of some sort. And so here's an opportunity for free, as you mentioned, to really find a father figure, a mentor out there that can kind of guide them. And this world is so complicated, and to have someone that they can rely upon to guide them is so good.
Yeah, and so that's why I encourage everybody, listen, come out to the Kickback on this Friday night. Call me. Y'all got my number. Call me. The number is on the flyer. If there's anything value that you say, Talisa, we need to add, just call me. It's open for suggestions. Andrew, I just had an idea, and I wanted to see people come together to help our young boys. You know, my son, and I have a 16-year-old son, and I'm so grateful for the mentors that's in his life and the men that's in his life and his father that is in his life. life. But there's so many of our brothers and young men don't have that, right? And so what can we do as a village? The village got to make sure we keep them going. So listen, this Friday, y'all, it's the kickback. It's the kickback. Y'all need to see y'all in the place on Friday at my church in the Douglas community. And then, Andrew, you know what time it is. It's getting close to Juneteenth, baby. And tickets go on sale on tomorrow. Oh, I'm so excited. At the Halloran Center, Juneteenth the musical. You want to see a stage play, a musical stage play, performances by Young Actors Guild under the direction of the amazing artistic director, Christy Chandler. Let me tell you, Juneteenth the musical, family, you better get your tickets. Tickets goes on sale tomorrow at Ticketmaster. Listen, Juneteenth the musical is at the Halloran Center the 10th of June. It's a Saturday for 2 shows, a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. Listen, our young people, all people gonna be on that stage showing the reenactment of why we all should celebrate Juneteenth. So tickets go on sale tomorrow. I'm telling y'all, it will sell out, both shows. So go ahead and grab your tickets tomorrow when they go on sale on the Ticketmaster app. So it's going to be a great year. Juneteenth is doing great things. For all the things Juneteenth, y'all know what to do, right? Go to our website, memphisjuneteenth.com. I am the proud president of the Memphis Juneteenth Festival, and we're doing so many things this month for June. Why? Because we're celebrating 30 years right here in the city of Memphis, and we are going to have an amazing time of letting people know why you should commemorate and celebrate Juneteenth.
These are some great events, Talisa. Each and every time we talk, you tell me about these great events, and I know that you're all about Juneteenth, and it's such a great celebration. And what I like to remind people is that we were doing Juneteenth years, decades before everybody else were. I mean, it's kind of the hot, trendy thing to talk about right now, and have events marking the occasion. We were doing this 20 plus years ago.
You know, Andrew, I tell people, I was telling the mayor the other day, I said, Mayor, we've been doing Juneteenth in Memphis with a spirit of excellence. Before it was a hashtag, before it was a national holiday, before it was cool, and he just started, I said, listen, that's just my saying now. We were doing Juneteenth before it was cool and a hashtag, because Memphis is that city that is all about change and pulling people together, and that's what Memphis is all about. Listen, Memphis Juneteenth turned 30 years, and let me tell you, there are so many great celebrations that is happening here in the city of Memphis. Listen, I lead a lot of them, and I know I do, and I'm grateful that I do, but there's so many other people that is leading Juneteenth. And listen, if you know that you are one of those people, that you have not connected with me, make sure, because I want to make sure you have a toolkit so the whole city of Memphis can celebrate Juneteenth inclusive and with equity for all.
I'm doing something that I love to do.
So am I, pure and simple.
You don't do this for 26 years if you don't like it.
This month's Mid-South heroes are a pair of crossing guards with the Germantown Police Department who put on the uniform and a smile each and every day. Peggy Grammer has been a crossing guard for more than a decade, while her co-worker, Faye Lester, has been at it for over 25 years. These two are at their posts every morning and afternoon, dealing with traffic, parents, and weather.
The worst part for me is lightning. I don't mind the rain. I don't mind the cold. I don't like the hot, but I do not like lightning. Do not.
And I'm basically the same. The lightning really is the hardest part of standing out here.
I can deal with the cars. Just keep the lightning away.
I've actually been hit, not hard, by a car, but really, it's just all in a day's work.
Faye and Peggy can be seen weekdays at area schools like Houston Middle, directing parent traffic, bus traffic, and their favorite part of the job, helping students cross busy streets.
That's the draw. You just love the kids.
Faye's the best. You don't do this job for the money or anything. You do this job for your love of the kids. And there's nothing like these babies. I mean, they're like our grandkids. They're ours. And I even have kids come back with their kids. So yeah, it's an awesome job, and that makes me feel happy that I make someone else happy.
You see them every day. You know they're, if they're having a bad day or whatever, you're going to know it because you're one of the first people that see them.
These two heroes have a simple but important request.
These kids' lives are important, and trying to get people to stop and let us get these kids safely across the street, some days it's all we can do. And if people would just take a moment to realize that these kids' lives are in really big danger, it would be nice. Just slow down just a little bit. You might get to where you're going 2 or 3 minutes later, but you're going to get there, and our kids are going to be safe.
It's scary sometimes how close they come. Just have patience with us because we're doing the best we can, and sometimes it isn't a difficult situation. And kindness always wins out.
Congratulations, Faye and Peggy. You are this month's Mid-South Heroes.
Did you know that 1 in 5 people worldwide have inherited high lipoprotein A, and many people don't even know it, which is pretty scary. And that's because it's not something that's screened for, and oftentimes people don't even realize they have it or the first signs of that condition until they have a heart attack or a stroke. And that's why we're really wanting to talk about this morning and let you know all the information you need. And joining us now to share more about it is the Family Heart Foundation founder and CEO Catherine Wileman and Dr. Seth Baum, Chief Scientific Officer for Flourish Research. Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good morning. Doing
Good
well,
morning.
thank you.
You know, I'm glad to have you on here because, I mean, hearing these numbers, 1 in 5 people worldwide having this and not knowing it, it's pretty alarming. And Catherine, I understand that you had a heart attack, unbelievable, age 39. And, you know, just tell us more about your story and kind of what happened.
Absolutely. So I was out gardening and I developed crushing chest pain and pain radiating down my arm. When I called the paramedics, because I was younger and I also was a female, I really had to advocate for myself for them to take me seriously. But what we discovered was that I had in fact had a heart attack because I had 100% blockage of the main artery that feeds your heart blood. And it took a little while, but I also discovered that the reason I'd had an event so young in life was because I had inherited 2 genetic conditions that led me to be at high risk. One is called familial hypercholesterolemia, which leads to high LDL from birth, and the other is elevated lipoprotein(a), which we're here to talk about today. And as you said, the thing about elevated lipoprotein(a) is that it's incredibly common. We know that about 60 million Americans are living with elevated lipoprotein(a). But what we also know from the Family Heart Foundation research is that less than 1% of Americans have been screened in the last 10 years. And it really shouldn't be that way. With genetic risk for cardiovascular disease, there's so much we can do if we find out early. And so we're really pleased to have this opportunity to talk with you and your audience about it.
And I'm sure that had to have been scary, surprising for you, and just an unbelievable situation. Were you shocked when you realized what was going on?
You know, I have to say it was terrifying. We hear that people are not very afraid of cardiovascular disease, but it still is the #1 killer in the world. And it was a horrible feeling. I felt completely powerless, and you could really feel the pressure of time that you needed the care immediately. So it was a shock.
So, Dr. Baum, I want to bring you in, though, and just talk about what it means if you do have a elevated lipoprotein(a). What does that mean?
Yeah, so elevated LP(a) is a bad thing. First of all, it increases risk maybe 4 times what a normal person would experience. LP(a) is like a very small LDL particle. We know LDL is very bad, causes vascular disease. Well, LP(a) does it. And there are 3 elements to LP(a) that are particularly bad. The first is it causes plaque. That's blockage in the arteries that feed the heart, such as what Catherine had experienced, but it also causes an increase in inflammation and increases the risk of clotting. And all 3 things can conspire to cause stroke and heart attack. We know that it's inherited. So because it's inherited, what that means is if you have an elevated Lp(a), you should have your whole family checked. And then finally, I would say that even though we don't have therapeutics to reduce the risk from Lp(a), they're in development, they're in research right now, but what we do have are other approaches, such as reducing your LDL cholesterol, something that's not done nearly enough in the United States. We could do that more aggressively in patients with high Lp(a).
So, doctor, who should get tested for Lp(a), and then how is that done?
Yeah, so I'm a preventive cardiologist, and I believe everybody should be tested for Lp(a). It's a simple blood test. You can find out the results very quickly. The Canadians and the Europeans have stipulated in their guidelines that everybody should be checked. We should be doing the same. You can ask your doctor for the test, or frankly, you can ask the Family Heart Foundation for some guidance, and they'll help direct you to how you can get a test.
So, Catherine, I want to talk with you again. You've dedicated your life to raising awareness about heart disease to the public, and let's talk a little bit about what the Family Heart Foundation is doing to create awareness about Lp(a).
So all year long, we work with health systems and healthcare providers to put into effect more systematic screening for genetic causes of cardiovascular disease. And we really advocate with policymakers to make sure those who are born at risk have the care they need. But during the month of March, we had the opportunity to go to the public, and we really appreciate this opportunity to talk with your audience to let everybody know that this is something that exists. It's common, it's life-threatening, it's easy to screen for. And so March 24th is Lp(a) Awareness Day, and we hope that people will take a minute and think about whether or not they can get screened and whether or not heart disease runs in their family.
This is really important to get out there. Like you said, this is so common, and people don't know about it until they have some kind of major medical issue. Can we talk about where people can go to get some more information and read about some of the things that we've talked about this morning?
Sure. People can go to familyheart.org. We have lots of information on our website. We also have a patient navigation center so people can call and talk to a real person who's trained, if that's their preference, and learn about what they might do to protect themselves and their family.
Well,
good morning, everyone. Andrew Douglas in the Action News 5 digital desk. There is a new report on public health emergency preparedness, and it finds that less than half of U.S. states are considered highly prepared. It's kind of disturbing to hear some of these findings from this new report. Let's bring in Dr. Nadine Gracia. She's president and CEO of Trust for America's Health. Dr. Gracia, good morning to you. Let's talk about some of the key findings of this report here. My understanding is it's called Ready or Not Report. Tell me about it.
Yes, Trust for America's Health, we are releasing our annual Ready or Not report, which really assesses our nation's level of preparedness for infectious disease outbreaks, bioterrorism, and natural disasters. It also looks specifically at state level preparedness. And what we found in this year's report gives us actionable data to help policymakers at all levels, federal, state, and local, to be able to take steps to continue to improve their emergency preparedness. In this year's report, 19 states and the District of Columbia were in the high performance tier, 16 states in the middle performance tier, and 15 states in the low performance tier.
So, Dr. Gracia, we broadcast to West Tennessee, North Mississippi, and Eastern Arkansas. Tell me how this Mid-South area did in this report.
Yeah, so what we saw in specifically for Tennessee is that this year, it was in the low performance tier. It actually fell from the middle performance tier to the low performance tier this year. When we look at strengths for the state, one is that it has plans in place to be able to expand its healthcare capacity during times of emergency, as we've seen how hospitals have been stretched, for example, during the pandemic to be able to respond to the emergency. It also has plans in place, for example, around expanding its public health laboratory capacity. But some opportunities for improvement include one, the level of public health funding in state public health. And we've seen actually a decline and a decrease in state public health funding, as well as the opportunity for public health accreditation. Any state, even if they're high performing states, really have opportunities for improvement. We've seen that in the state of Mississippi, where they are in a high performance tier. And so there's opportunities really across the board in addressing both healthcare readiness as well as strengthening the public health system.
So tell me more about the criteria involved in this study where you're able to determine low, middle, and high state readiness or preparedness.
Yeah, so the report looks at 10 indicators that are closely associated to public health preparedness. Factors like being able to have plans in place to expand your healthcare capacity during times of an emergency, so that hospitals, health systems, for example, are able to have nurses that can come from other states, for example, to be able to help support the healthcare needs in that specific state. It looks at plans in place of the public health laboratories to be able to surge their capacity in testing during times of emergency. It also looks at factors like level of public health funding in the state, as well as issues such as paid time off. The number of employed individuals who are using paid time off. We've seen in the COVID-19 pandemic how critical that is if someone is ill or needs to take care of a family member, having access, for example, to paid time off to be able to stay home and not, for example, coming to work where they might actually then spread an infection such as COVID-19. It also looks at accreditation, which either public health and emergency management accreditation, which really helps to assess the strengths and weaknesses of departments at that level and be able to have quality improvement to strengthen those areas and opportunities for improvement. It also looks at hospital quality as well and ratings of hospitals within the states.
I was just going to ask Dr. Gracia, these recommendations in this new report, is it going to be sent to some of the state leaders across various states, all 50 states, to talk about where they're strong, where they're weak, where they need to continue to work to be 100% prepared for any kind of health emergency?
Yeah, you raise a critical point, Andrew, which is the role that this report and the data and recommendations can have for policymakers at all levels, Congress, as well as at the state and local level, to be able to take concrete actions that can help to strengthen public health preparedness. So indeed, we share this report broadly, certainly with congressional offices. We share it with state health officials and other state partners to be able to use this as a guide and understanding that it's a checklist to be able to serve as a guide, to be able to strengthen opportunities for improving public health preparedness. One is a key area is strengthening the investment in funding and resources for the public health system. Public health has been chronically underfunded for decades. There's also a severe workforce shortage as it relates to public health. It's estimated that we need about 80,000 full-time equivalent positions for state and local health departments to just even be able to meet the basic public health services. So these are some of the steps that policymakers at all levels, including the state and local level, can be taking to strengthen our nation's preparedness.
We have thousands of viewers who join us each and every day on the digital desk, and perhaps they're watching this wondering what they could do specifically to prepare themselves and their family for any kind of emergency. Is there anything that they can do right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one is always certainly to follow public health guidance, out of the local and state health departments as it relates to being prepared for and when there is an actual emergency, following that evidence-based, science-based information with regards to the response to that emergency, whether it's to an infectious disease outbreak or if there's been some type of weather-related emergency. One of our indicators is also about vaccination and specifically seasonal flu vaccines. As a nation, we are underperforming as it relates to our national targets of having 70% of the population that is vaccinated against flu. So there's every year getting that flu shot for people that are 6 months and older is a concrete way that you can also take steps to improve our nation's preparedness and your local community's preparedness as well.
Okay, President CEO of Trust for America's Health, Dr. Nadine Gracia, we appreciate your time. Thank you for the conversation this morning.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate the opportunity.
Good morning. We have a warm day ahead. However, we are going to be dealing with clouds for at least the first half of the day. Mostly cloudy still at noon, but you'll start to see some peaks of sunshine up to around 70 degrees at lunchtime today. And you'll have the southwest breeze sustained at about 15 miles per hour, gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour through the morning. You'll still have gusts up to 25 miles per hour through this afternoon. It'll remain breezy tonight and windy tomorrow too. Then on Friday afternoon and evening, you get a cold front that approaches, and that could bring a chance for severe weather. The bullseye of this, the area that has the greatest threat for severe weather, is actually mostly south of us, closer to Jackson and southeast Arkansas. There was that 4 out of 5 where you see that red color, but a small portion of the mid-south in our area is under that 4 out of 5. Helena and going into Clarksdale, Marks and Lambert, you need to be on high alert because that area with that higher instability, those ingredients in place for severe weather, have a greater threat for tornadoes than the rest of us. Now, we still have a threat for even seeing a tornado for the rest of the Mid-South too with a 3 out of 5. But the main thing we'll be monitoring with all these thunderstorms on Friday will be damaging winds. That's what most of those will produce, and also the threat for some hail as well. Let's talk timing. So here's the thing. There's a weather system that's moving through pretty slowly. So we may see a few showers as early as 9 a.m. on Friday. Notice North Mississippi as I go through time, still not seeing any of those storms, even as we get into 11 o'clock noon. This is 10:30 here with rain in Brownsville and Millington, eastern Arkansas. Does not look like that rain's going to make it all the way through. So this area in North Mississippi, without any rain, will continue to increase in stability as we go through the afternoon. Now by 3, 4 o'clock, all of us will dry out for a little bit. So the question is, West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, along and north of I-40, will you have enough time to recover from that early morning rain to potentially get a severe thunderstorm? Does look like that would be the case, but especially for northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas that doesn't get any rain, that will be the area to watch. And again, that spot near Helena and Clarksdale will have the greatest potential for severe weather. We'll likely start to see some of those severe storms there right around 8 o'clock at night. This is 8:30. You can see some of that heavy rain, the purples and the reds. Eastern Arkansas also seeing some strong storms, and by that point at night, 8, 9 o'clock, we're seeing thunderstorms in Shelby County. That line continues to push east, so we'll have storms at least through midnight, but by 2 o'clock in the morning, most of that will start moving out. So by the time we get up Saturday morning, we'll be done with the rain. This is how much rain we're expecting with this on Friday. About 1.5 inches of rain from Wynne, Memphis, and to Bolivar. Shouldn't be enough to cause any significant flash flooding, but rivers and streams, the banks are already high in those small rivers and streams. So just be careful if you're traveling near there because some flooding could happen over the banks of those spots. This weekend, as I mentioned, we dry out, at least for Saturday, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, mostly dry as well. We'll hit 72, but there is a chance for a stray shower late in the day on Sunday. If you want to get details on that rain chance and on that severe weather threat, go to our First Alert Weather app. You can download it for free, and I just posted a new video update on there detailing Friday's rain chance again. So after the weekend, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the 60s. Monday, 68. By Wednesday, lower 60s.
All right, that does it for us here in the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Have yourself a wonderful Thursday afternoon. We got Action News 5 midday coming up at the top of the hour, and then another edition of the Digital Desk tomorrow morning, a First Alert Weather Day beginning at 8 o'clock. See you then.